season heads toward home. Seattle's lead is slim, but Martinez is still big at the plate. And the way Rodriguez enjoys the road, let's call it a way run. Toronto's Thundering Herd has 5 guys on pace for 30 home runs. And Carlos Delgado may be the first player in 33 years to win the Triple Crown. The wild card and pennant race both on the line tonight. The Mariners and the Blue Jays. Next on Fox Sports Net, Baseball Thursday. Fox Sports Net welcomes you to Toronto, Ontario, Canada from Sky Dome for the finale of this 3-game series between the first place Seattle Mariners and the playoff hopeful Toronto Blue Jays. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Baseball Thursday. I'm Kenny Albert. Mariners won Tuesday's game 4-3. Blue Jays came back last night by a 7-3 score. Toronto still trails the New York Yankees by 7.5 games in the American League East. Seattle atop the AL West by a 1.5 over Oakland. In the wild card race, Toronto 4.5 in back of the Cleveland Indians. As I welcome in my partner, Jeff Torborg. Jeff, the leader offensively here in Toronto, Carlos Delgado, in range of doing something that has not been done in the major leagues since 1967.
Kenny, this is an unbelievable year this guy is having, a monster year. When you think about it, he is only 2 percentage points behind Nomar Garciaparra in the batting race. He's only 2 home runs behind Frank Thomas in the home run race, and he's only 2 RBIs behind Frank Thomas. That's only maybe 2 days' work for him. He has had some year. And when you think about what he's done, out of 18 offensive categories, he is in the top 4 of those and leads in 8 of them. And last night he came very close to hitting a grand slam home run. This guy is some kind of producer.
So coming up next, Delgado and the Jays in the finale of this 3-game series against Edgar Martinez, Alex Rodriguez, and the Seattle Mariners. Baseball Thursday on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by WebMD, the healthcare destination for you and your doctor. By McDonald's, we love to see you smile. By Toyota, making it happen every day. And by True Value, where health is just around the corner. Back in Toronto, Kenny Albert with Jeff Torborg as we welcome you back inside Sky Dome. The roof is open here tonight. And for the Seattle Mariners, with a record of 75-64, first place in the American League West. Ricky Henderson, the left fielder, leads off, followed by right fielder Al Martin. The shortstop, A-Rod, bats third. Edgar Martinez, the DH in the cleanup spot. Then first baseman John Olerud. Center fielder Mike Cameron will bat sixth. And the bottom of the order, third baseman Carlos Guillen, catcher Dan Wilson, and second baseman Mark McLemore, as the Mariners face Steve Trachsel for the 4th time this season. Trachsel 0-3 against Seattle.
Well, Trachsel is your typical fastball pitcher, but he does not have the big blazing fastball. Has 2 types, throws a hard curveball, a circle change. The split finger is his out pitch, especially the left-handed hitters.
Trachsel 7-12. He was 6-10 with Tampa Bay, 1-2 as a Blue Jay. Jays second in the league defensively. Carlos Delgado is the first baseman. Mickey Morandini over at second. Tony Batista, the third baseman for the Blue Jays. The shortstop is Alex Gonzalez. Shannon Stewart in left field. Former Mariner, Jose Cruz Jr. in center. And the well-traveled Dave Martinez in right. Darren Fletcher behind the plate. So the battery of Trachsel and Fletcher. Trachsel lost a major league high 18 games last year with the Cubs, signed as a free agent with the Devil Rays, and was dealt at the deadline to Toronto.
Well, as you look at Steve's numbers, anytime you see that many hits more than innings pitched, you know that he's had a lot of base runners. Walks, too many walks for the number of strikeouts. He's not a strikeout pitcher necessarily, but he can really put things together. He's had some games this year where he just was unhittable. In fact, he ran against a back-to-back 1-0 wins, and one of them was against Pedro Martinez, and then he ran up against the Yankees and was unbelievably effective. So he's a guy that on a given night can be very tough.
Ricky Henderson takes a call strike. Traxel has allowed only 22 home runs in 29 starts. 2 of the 22 have been first inning leadoff home runs to Ricky Henderson this year. He's taken Traxel deep twice, leading off the game for the Mariners. Not this time. Base hit left field.
Well, that was a breaking ball. That was a curveball, and obviously one of the pitches that Ricky likes to jump when he's leading off is a fastball. So Traxel was making sure, I'm not going to give up another home run to this guy. They went at him with a good downer curveball, and Ricky just reached out and pulled it in the hole at third base. At this point, I'm sure Traxel's thinking, how do I get this guy out? Now the question is, can I keep him at first base?
29 steals this season for the 41-year-old Ricky Henderson. Here's Al Martin, acquired at the trade deadline from the San Diego Padres by the Mariners. Martin only 1 for his last 18. That one hit came last night. 0-1.
Well, it's a nice feeling if you have a base stealer, and of course Ricky, when his legs are feeling good, can still run at 41. But as a catcher, you'd hate to have a base stealer at first base with a left-handed hitter in the batter's box, because the left-hander is in the way of the catcher seeing. Darren Fletcher's going to have a tough time seeing Ricky. You can see him even trying to look around Al Martin's back. Now, a lot of times you said if you are a defensive bench, you're looking to try to get a read on the body language, and Ricky Henderson was nowhere near way out in his lead. He was standing with his hands on his knees. Now, he will decoy sometimes and keep walking, but normally the base runner wants to get way out off that dirt onto the turf to get a real good lead. There he is. He's got the good lead finally.
As Martin falls behind, no balls, 2 strikes.
But one of the things a pitcher wants to do too, you don't ever want to let a good base runner, or any base runner for that matter, get a walking lead where he does not stop, because he can get going, and then jump and take off. Ricky has a unique way. A lot of times when he really gets anxious to go, he gets very tense and he gets low. And that's when the opposition in the dugout keep an eye on him closely.
Ricky holds, and Martin goes down on strikes. Al Martin strikes out on 3 pitches, 1 away. Here are the Mariners first.
Now, this is a nasty downer split finger. This ball, the bottom fell out of this, and Al Martin couldn't hold up. And that's what you'll see a lot of times. People will say, well, how the hitter swing at a ball that's in the dirt or not hold up the ball in the dirt? It's because that's where the best downer is. If you get it low enough down underneath the strike zone, it really has great action.
So with 1 away, A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez steps in. Rodriguez hit his 34th home run last night. He's 8th in the American League in batting at .332. And he takes ball 1 from Steve Traxel. Rodriguez only 1 for 7 lifetime against Traxel.
Well, then I would be concerned if I were the Blue Jays, because Alex Rodriguez is such a good hitter. If he hasn't gotten a line on a particular pitcher, you know it's just a matter of time. Now, Ricky Henderson looked like he was going to run that last time with fake, and I don't know if he's just faking or whether he's getting a good start at first base. Now it looked like he was going on that particular pitch. That was a step-off move. That's one of the defenses that you can use against a good base stealer. One is step off. The one that holds Ricky the most is if you just get to your set position and hold the ball. Hold, and he loses his timing. But I would have said that Ricky was running on that last pitch. And on that throw over, I'd say no. See, that's what you really try to do. That's what all the moves that you see, catcher looking into the dugout to see what the signs are from the dugout, not telling pitch selection, but telling, are we going to use a step off, a pitch out, a hold, or a slide step?
Now 2-0 on Rodriguez. Blue Jays manager Jim Fregosi.
Well, it's an interesting situation when you have a Ricky Henderson who can steal a base, obviously the greatest base stealer of all time in career stolen bases, but you also have an outstanding hitter at the plate who can hit the ball out of the ballpark anywhere. Do you take a chance of getting a runner thrown out in front of him, or you let him hit?
Rodriguez into foul territory. A long run for the right fielder Martinez. He could not get to it, so the count now 2-1.
The Ricky has made a couple fakes on the last 2 pitches like he was going to go. And at 41 with 29 stolen bases, and he's not that far off the lead in the American League, that's really telling you something. Look at the body on this guy. This guy has kept himself in great shape. And he still gets great acceleration when he decides to go. When his legs feel good, he can still get motored.
The 2-1. Ground ball to the third baseman Batista. Second for 1. Over to first. Double play. So Alex Rodriguez grounds into the 5-4-3. We head to the bottom of the first from Sky Dome. In Toronto, we move to the bottom of the first inning. The Toronto Blue Jays at 72 and 67, third place in the American League East. Left fielder Shannon Stewart leads off, followed by the shortstop Alex Gonzalez. Dave Martinez bats third. Carlos Delgado in the cleanup spot leads the American League with runners in scoring position. The DH is Brad Fulmer. Tony Batista, the third baseman, in the number 6 spot. At the bottom of the order, catcher Darren Fletcher, center fielder Jose Cruz Jr., and second baseman Mickey Morandini. As the Blue Jays face 23-year-old right-hander Freddie Garcia. For the third time this season, 2 of Garcia's 5 victories have come against the Jays.
This guy knows how to pitch. He's a great big right-hander at 6'4", about 225 pounds. Got a great sinker. He throws both a sinker ball and a straight fastball, but a good curve ball he'll throw at any time. And when you can throw a ball when you're behind an account for a strike, especially a breaking ball, you got something going for you.
Shannon Stewart leads off and pops up on the first pitch, shallow right field. Coming on is Al Martin, and he makes the catch. 1 pitch and 1 out. Mariners tied for third defensively in the American League. John Olerud is the first baseman. There's Alex Rodriguez. He's the shortstop. Carlos Guillen in third. We skipped over Mark McLemore. Mark will play second here tonight. Ricky Henderson in left. The center fielder is Mike Cameron, who came over in the Ken Griffey Jr. deal. Al Martin in right field. As Alex Gonzalez takes ball 1. Dan Wilson behind the plate for the Mariners, to the battery of Garcia and Wilson. Garcia's 16th start. As Gonzalez bounces this one, Guillen charging, throws him out. 3 pitches, 2 away. Garcia missed 2.5 months with a leg injury. He's 5-4 on the season after leading the Mariners in victories last year as a rookie with 17.
You know, the thing that is impressing so many people at the major league level about Freddie Garcia is that he is so poised for such a young pitcher and so big. At 6'4", 225, a lot of times young pitchers that are that big have trouble with their command because their bodies are so big, all legs and arms. This guy knows how to pitch and is not afraid to use the corners and does not get excited on the mound, which is really big for a young pitcher.
He came over from Houston in the Randy Johnson deal 2 years ago, along with John Halama and the third baseman tonight, Carlos Guillen. Ball 1 to Dave Martinez, who has tied Dave Kingman's major league record this season by playing with 4 different ball clubs.
Kenny, the last time we left him was here with Texas, and he just the next day crossed the field and became a Blue Jay, and he has been red hot as a Blue Jay. This guy is a good player. We talked about it that night, and all the years that I've watched this guy play, he is a manager's dream. He knows his role. He can play several different positions. He puts the ball in play. He can run. He really is a good addition to any club.
Grounded foul back behind first base. 1-2 on Martinez, who started the year in Tampa, then moved up to the Cubs. His third team, the Texas Rangers, and his fourth club, the Blue Jays. He had a 21-game hitting streak
over the last couple of weeks. Started in his first game as a J.
In fact, he hit a home run.
And he has a hit in 23 of his 25 games with Toronto. Popped up. And the second baseman, McLemore, makes the catch. Only 7 pitches in the first inning for Freddie Garcia. He sets down the Blue Jays 1-2-3. We look down at Steve Traxel from the Sanyo Lightship, flying overhead with its eye in the sky camera to bring you beautiful live shots over Sky Dome here tonight.
How'd we know the roof was going to be open to get the blimp up there? The lightship, excuse me.
The Sanyo Lightship. I am told that during the football game that I will be working on Sunday in Detroit, there will be a blimp present. The game is indoors at the Pontiac Silverdome.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So
why do you need a blimp over a dome? Can you explain that one to me? Top of the second, and Edgar Martinez takes a called strike. Martinez, Olerud, and Cameron for the Mariners here in the second. Edgar batting .331, ninth in the American League. Slow roller foul back behind third base, 1-2.
Boy, this guy is a special player. When you think about what Edgar Martinez has done in this game, he's already won 2 batting titles. He is the consummate professional. He is a gentleman. He brings so much to this game that the people of Seattle really appreciate him, and the rest of baseball, if they don't already, should. This guy can flat out hit, but he also just is a great example for our kids.
Broken bat. Ground ball to the shortstop, Gonzalez. He throws him out, 1 away. Well, Jeff, speaking of football, the NFL this morning returns this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on Fox Sports Net with Chris Myers, Jackie Slater, Marv Levy, and Chris Spielman as they deliver the latest news, injuries, and weather as they close it on kickoff with expert analysis from John Madden, Matt Millen, Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, and Chris Collinsworth. It's the NFL this morning, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, only on Fox Sports Net. Marv Levy, former coach in the CFL here in Canada. And of course,
Marv Levy was the coach at Cornell.
Yes.
That's showing my age, though. I really enjoy listening to him speak.
I know you're not as old as Marv. John Olerud. Well, the fans here in Toronto are used to seeing that. He won a batting title with the Blue Jays back in '93. Olerud with the Mariners' second base hit of the game.
Boy, what a good hitter. What a good hitter. Here's a guy that never played in the minor leagues, went right from college to the big leagues. And you can see what he did with the Blue Jays. He went to the Mets and just got even better, if that's possible. Exceptional first baseman. One of the quietest hitters and most selective hitters you'll ever want to see. When I say quiet, he doesn't jump around the box, not too much action. All he does is hit.
So a 1-out single here in the second inning off the bat of Olerud. Now Mike Cameron steps in. Cameron just 2 for his last 16, struggling at the plate as he takes ball 1. Matt Hollowell is the home plate umpire tonight. Crew chief Brian Onora working first base. Wally Bell out at second. Dan Iasonia is the third base umpire. 1 on, 1 out. Top of the second inning. Mike Cameron, the Mariners center fielder, 0 for 5 so far in this series against the Blue Jays. Fouls one back, 1-1.
I'm just watching Traxel so far in this ball game, and he has had great stuff down in the strike zone. Now, you hear us talk all the time about being effective if you can stay down in the zone and only go up in the strike zone when you want to run the ball in on somebody's hands. Well, Traxel's stuff has been very good. He's broken a couple bats already. But he did get one up a little bit, and that was the base hit to Olerud. And now he just missed with one up that Mike Cameron fouled back. So it'll be interesting if you watch and see if Traxel keeps the ball down and how effective he is when it is down, if he does.
One from Traxel, low and away, 2 balls, 1 strike.
You know, the idea of pitching is to every hitter that ever lived. That's a weakness for a particular hitter. So if you can get the ball over, down and away, and if you throw a sinker, you can throw it down and in also. The key is you've got to get your breaking ball down too and get it over for a strike.
Cameron takes ball 3. Now 3-1.
As you can see, Traxel threw that breaking ball down in the dirt, and he kind of spun off over toward first base. Sometimes pitchers, when they're trying to make a good pitch and make it bite and get into the dirt, will spin off, won't stay toward the plate where they're delivering the ball, and that's exactly what Steve Traxel just did.
Cameron fouls this one back behind first base, just out of the reach of Carlos Delgado. So the count now full, 3 balls, 2 strikes with 1 out, and John Olerud on first.
Hey, this is a nice effort. Look at this view. Boy, this is outstanding. But look how far he reached here. And the fan went to catch it. He got smacked with it, but he was glad that he came up with it. He said, "I'd like to give it to you, but I won't." But I'll tell you, you can imagine Jim Fregosi, every time his big producer in Delgado gets near a wall, you start to worry. You can just see a knee get banged up going over there, even though it's padded.
Olerud goes. The payoff pitch bounced foul, this time rolling back behind third base. And Delgado last year had played every inning of every game until he suffered an injury down the stretch and wound up missing the last 10 games, and finished tied with George Bell. Club record 134 RBIs, but he missed the last 10 games.
That's when you realize the kind of numbers that he has put up. Remember, he was a catcher initially. That's what he came through the organization at. And they felt that he would be a better hitter if he didn't have to catch every day.
Olerud goes, and Cameron fouls it back to the screen.
You can see what Lou Piniella is trying to do here with 1 out and a full count. He is running John Olerud, who is not a base stealer, but Lou is betting that Mike Cameron can put the bat on the ball, put the ball in play. So the only thing that John Olerud has to do is make sure that Traxel delivers the ball to the plate and that he doesn't get picked off.
There goes Olerud. Cameron with a base hit into left field. Olerud holds at second. So the Mariners have runners on first and second with only 1 away.
Lou Piniella is a very aggressive manager, and he has tailored his game, and that's what a manager has to what the makeup of his club is. Remember, this year's ball club for the Mariners is a better pitching and defensive team than the past teams. Those teams were big hammer teams that really did a lot of hitting, and Lou could wait back for a 3-run homer type of inning. But now he's making things happen with this ball club, and he's just trying to get through this part of the schedule. Boy, they have had an unbelievably difficult schedule for the month of August and into September.
They're 3-3 on this trip. They split 4 games in Boston and have split 2 here in Toronto so far. Carlos Guillen, switch hitter, batting left-handed against Traxel. A called strike. 0-1.
How about that curveball? Traxel has a great downer curveball, as we mentioned, and he has a split finger that the bottom falls out of, and he's got 2 fastballs. The problem he has with his fastballs, they are not the kind that really blow you away at the plate, so hitters can wait back just a little bit to go after some of his off-speed pitches.
First and second, 1 out. Olerud on at second. Cameron takes his lead off first base. No score, top of the second inning from Sky Dome. Guillen pops it up, foul territory. Batista, the third baseman, 2 away. Well, Jeff, you mentioned the Mariners' style under Lou Piniella. We spoke about their National League style with the skipper.
We don't have the thunder that we used to have. I mean, our lineup is more of a, I would brand it as more of a National League style play. We hit and run a lot. We bunt a lot. We try to run. I think we're 14th in the league in caught stealing, but we're very aggressive. And we don't hit the ball with the power that we used to.
Lou Piniella really is a very bright guy. Remember, he never managed in the minor leagues and then became the manager of the New York Yankees. Can you imagine that? Never having managed in the minor leagues, all of a sudden he's elevated to the manager of the New York Yankees. The most difficult managing position in Major League Baseball, and he did a terrific job there. And of course his record speaks for itself. A World Championship club with Cincinnati, and up here with Seattle, had him in the postseason the year they needed it most. Got the stadium built for them. Lou has done a terrific job. Of course his beard wasn't that gray when he started managing up here.
The 0-1 to Dan Wilson. Now 1-1.
But it's interesting that he calls it a National League brand, because he did manage obviously in the National League with Cincinnati. And there are a lot of American League clubs that do a lot of running, but people characterize that kind of forcing the offense with more team speed as a National League type. Lou got Dan Wilson, his young catcher, from the Cincinnati organization when he first went to Seattle, and he's been a terrific receiver for the Mariners ever since.
1-2.
Now there's another one of Traxel's pitches. That was a changeup. Now we talked about he has a downer curveball. He has a split finger. This was a changeup. This is a circle change. It acts a little like a screwball.
Two on, 2 out. The 1-2 from Traxel. Did he go around? Yes. Traxel strikes out Wilson, and the Mariners scram 2 base runners in the second. Carlos Delgado, 2 up for the Blue Jays. Back in Toronto, no score as we head to the bottom of the second inning. Our LendingTree.com key matchup tonight. Carlos Delgado stepping up to the plate. Lifetime against Freddie Garcia. Delgado 6 for 11. 3 of the 6 hits, home runs.
Ouch. 2 ways to look at this. If you're Lou Piniella, maybe the percentages now are in Garcia's favor, or maybe you ought to walk him.
Delgado, Fulmer, and Batista for the Jays here in the second. Remember, the Blue Jays have not hit a home run in their last 6 games. They lead the major leagues with 221 for the season, but they have gone 6 games over 200 at-bats. Delgado came very close last night. Hit the top of the left field wall with the bases loaded.
Boy, he's a good-looking hitter. He's gotten better every year, and for an example, 1996, he hit 25 home runs with 92 RBIs and upped it to 30 home runs. Garcia's not taking any chances. Those are all supposedly sinker balls away from Delgado. But Delgado went from 25 home runs in 96, 30 in 97, 38 in 98, 44 last year. And where will he end this year? Oh, hitting 3-0. How about that? See, that's what you have to do. You've got to let your big hammer hit 3-0, but he was a little anxious. He didn't go after his pitch there. He went after another sinker low and away, and Seattle was aware that he would be swinging, so they didn't go anywhere near the middle of the plate.
Now Delgado calls time, 3-1. Delgado leading off the bottom of the second inning. Garcia retired the Jays in order in the first on only 7 pitches. Off Off-speed pitch misses. And Delgado walks for the 105th time this season, second in the American League.
Well, most major league clubs, when they go over before a game, their game plan of how they're going to pitch against a particular ball club will look at one or two guys in the order and say, do not let this guy beat you. Now, Brad Fulmer, who's stepping in the box right now, is a young man who came over to the Blue Jays in spring training from the Montreal Expos. This guy is really a strong hitter. He's like a spring when he hits. He gets all wound up, almost like a spring, period. He just gets all ready to pop.
Fulmer, good numbers against Garcia. 3 for 6 with a homer. Came over in that three-way trade. Blue Jays, Expos, and the Texas Rangers exchanging first baseman David Segui and Lee Stevens, the other players in the deal. Fulmer with 28 home runs. He's driven in 91. Falls behind 0-2.
Well, the Montreal Expos felt that he was going to be a good hitter. They knew that part. He struggled as a defensive player. He had trouble. They tried to convert him to first base, and they used him in the outfield. He really struggled defensively. And, of course, they played an artificial turf up there in Montreal, and the balls would get by him, and he really had a difficult time. Well, since he's come over to the Blue Jays, all he's had to think about is hitting. And he loves to swing the bat. He has a bat in his hand all the time. In fact, he's dangerous in the dugout when he's got a bat.
Didn't he almost hit his manager?
He knocked a clipboard right out of Felipe Alou's hand. And he also hit one of his coaches a couple years ago, Jim Tracy, and broke his cheekbone. He is a very good hitter, as we talked about. Hits the ball hard, line drive type hitter. Didn't used to pull the ball inside as much as he does now, and that's what's made him more of a power hitter.
The 1-2. Hit in the air to center. Mike Cameron makes the catch. Delgado retreats back to first. One away.
That's what you see with Brad Fulmer. Even his outs are oftentimes hit real hard. He gets that bat wrapped around his head, and he gets into this stance where he's using the big muscles in his legs and everything. And he has really done a nice job this year for the Blue Jays. And so is this guy with the most unorthodox stance in baseball. His hitting coach, Cito Gaston, former outstanding manager here with the Blue Jays, says he struggled a little bit lately. His swing has been a little slow.
Tony Batista, who last year, after coming over from Arizona, set a club record for home runs by a shortstop, this season has set a club record for home runs by a third baseman.
37 home runs. This guy really has got an unorthodox swing, where first of all he starts out looking at the pitcher, but it looks like he's going to accept the pitch from the third base coach. But then he gets his hands back where they normally would be, and he turns his body, and it works for him. But his hitting coach, Cito Gaston, as I started to say before, has said that this kind of stance takes real good timing. And the problem that you have, there's Cito Gaston talking with Brad Fulmer, that when you start to get a little later in the season and get a little tired, the timing, you might lose it a little bit as you're getting tired. So you got to get your stance started quicker. All your motion started earlier.
1-2.
And Cito also said that one of the things that he's seen him start to do is swinging a lot of bad balls. He's been struggling a great deal of late. He won the game on Friday night with a base hit, but in between has been not swinging the bat. But how about this guy? Cito Gaston coming back to a team that he managed to 2 world championships, putting aside any ego, coming back to do a job of the hitting coach that he'd love to do, which is what he was doing before he was named manager.
Batista goes down on strikes. First strikeout for Garcia. 2 away, and the Blue Jays second.
Well, you can see most hitters when they're in a slump will look kind of funky. But in this particular swing, it looks like Batista's all out of whack. You can see how he closes up his stance and then swings at a bad ball. Look how he's waving at the ball. But now he'll bring this front foot around, and then he'll go and swing at a bad ball. His hands drop down, his shoulder comes out, everything is out of whack, way over here.
Here's the catcher, Darren Fletcher. Fletcher on fire, 9 for his last 21. He's hit 17 home runs, including 3 grand slams and a 3 home run game down in Texas.
Darren Fletcher can hit. If you remember a year ago, he really got banged up. He fouled a ball off the batting cage that came back and hit him in the eye. And he had blurred vision for quite a while. But he has been a good hitter for a number of years out of the University of Illinois.
Strikes, 2 away. Delgado, who led off the inning with a walk, still at first. Garcia missing outside. 3-0.
Now, we talked before about swinging away 3-0 when you had Carlos Delgado at the plate. Now, if you're Jim Fregosi, you wonder, do you allow Darren Fletcher, who, as you mentioned, Kenny, has already hit 3 home runs in 1 game, do you allow him to swing away here 3-0? Or maybe you do. Remember, last night's victory for the Blue Jays broke a 4-game losing streak. So when you're struggling a little bit, you throw the book out the window and you say, let's try some things. Let's make something happen. Let's just see if he allows him to swing away here.
Fletcher takes ball 4. He walks on 4 pitches. Second walk of the inning issued by Freddie Garcia.
But I think he was hitting there.
So with 2 on, 2 outs, here's the former Mariner, Jose Cruz Jr., who back in '97 finished in 2nd place in American League Rookie of the Year balloting behind Nomar Garciaparra. He split that season between Seattle and Toronto.
This guy's a good player, boy, with good bloodlines. His father, Jose Sr., was a tremendous hitter for the Houston Astros, Cardinals.
Ball 1 to Cruz, switch hitter, batting from the left side.
You know, his career has been kind of strange because he's hitting for big power, but his batting average has been down, which has caused the Blue Jays to send him to the minor leagues a couple times.
He does have 28 home runs, but as you mentioned, he strikes out a lot. 10th in the league in strikeouts.
You know, it's very difficult to be a young switch hitter. It's very difficult to come to the major leagues and really hone one side of the plate, not to mention both. Plus, when you're a big power hitter, that means that you got a little bigger swing. But he hits for a much better average from the right side.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Cruz.
He's hitting .283 this year from the right side and .228 from the left side. Of course, most of his power, because he hits that much more from the left side, is from the left side. He's got 24 home runs from the left side of the plate.
Now, I noticed number 14 on the knob of the bat. Cruz wears 23. You think he might be using one of Dave Martinez's bats? Martinez with that 21-game hitting streak earlier this month?
Probably so. Players will do that all the time. A hitter will go into the bat rack and just grab a bat and see what feels comfortable. You know, everybody has their own feel for a bat. They can put together their bat. They can get the size of the handle they want and the barrel of the bat that they want. The size of the barrel, I should say, that they want.
2-2.
And then they get their own model, but sometimes their own model doesn't feel good. Or if they're superstitious, they see somebody red hot, like you were saying about Dave Martinez. Why not try his?
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 outs.
It's interesting. You saw the number on the bottom of the bat. A lot of people don't realize that there are so many bats in the bat rack. You have to label your bat on the bottom. And there's the number, the 14 on the bottom, as you said, Kenny.
In the air, center field, so the bat does not help. In this instance, Mike Cameron makes the catch. And the Blue Jays strand 2 base runners in the second. Well, that pizza looks good.
It does. He's wearing a Diamondbacks hat up here.
Little pepperoni on top.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Right there.
Take whatever they got to offer there. Popcorn. That's what you have at a ball game. Popcorn, hot dog,
Pizza.
pizza.
Steve Trachsel getting set to face McLemore, Henderson, and Martin here in the third. Trachsel only one win his last 12 starts, 1-5 with 6 no decisions. Facing Mark McLemore, leading things off here in the third inning for the Mariners. McLemore 0 for 8 this series, batting .238 on the year. Right down the middle for a strike, 1-1.
You know, Kenny, we were talking earlier about how good a defensive team the Blue Jays are. Well, so are the Seattle Mariners, and one of the reasons is this Mark McLemore joining the Mariners from the Texas Rangers has really solidified second base, and then they slid David Bell from second base to third base. He's a terrific third baseman. And John Orwood moving in at first base, and A-Rod at short. All of a sudden their infield was really solid.
Orwood part of that record-setting Mets infield last year. Mets set a major league record, committing only 68 errors all season. 2-1 to McLemore, bounced foul back behind first base. So the count down 2-2.
You know, as good a season as the White Sox have had, a lot of the people who have followed the White Sox are concerned that what happens when they get into a postseason, get into a series, and the games are real close, because the White Sox defense has struggled. They have gotten much better over the second half of the season, but for a while their defense was at the bottom of the league. That's the one thing you can be sure of coming to the ballpark each day, that normally your defense does not slump, nor does your team speed. So if you can start with those two basic tenets, you get a chance to be a pretty good ball club.
Trachsel missing away, and the count is full. 3 balls, 2 strikes on the switch hitting Mark McLemore, with Ricky Henderson waiting on deck. McLemore gets a piece of it.
You know, it's interesting. We're talking about defense, and a lot of people say, well, how can it matter that much? Well, especially this year in the American League, because Oakland's on the bottom of the league defensively, and the White Sox are right behind them, and they're two of the teams that really are the clubs that can potentially play in postseason.
McLemore into center field. Jose Cruz makes the catch for the first out. Jeff, this week on Fox Saturday Baseball, a classic rivalry is renewed as Derek Jeter and the Yankees visit Fenway to take on Nomar Garciaparra and the Red Sox. Some of you will see Trevor Hoffman and the Padres as they look to shut down Barry Bonds and the division-leading Giants. Plus other regional action. Coverage gets underway with This Week in Baseball at 12:30 Eastern and Pacific. Check local listings for the game and time in your area. Jeff, you will be making your first visit to Pac-Bell Park.
Boy, I'm really looking forward to it. I hear such great things about what a beautiful park it is. And also the fact that that team, the Giant team, has been just outstanding. I've been reading so many positive things about former teammate of mine, Dave Righetti, and a former teammate of Ricky Henderson's as well, who is the pitching coach. He's really done some job with that pitching staff.
Giants with a 7.5 game lead over the Diamondbacks in the National League West, 1-1 on Ricky Henderson. Henderson singled leading off the game, and then was erased on a double play. In the air to right field, Dave Martinez. 2 outs. Time now for a Fox Sports Net game break. We take you to Fenway Park with Pedro Martinez taking in the action as brother Ramon takes the hill. Bottom of the 4th inning with the Twins leading 5-2, and the newly acquired Dante Bichette takes this pitch from Eric Milton over the Green Monster, a solo home run. Red Sox tack on 4 more that inning and pull away from the Twins, winning 11-6. So the Red Sox with their victory now 5.5 behind the Yankees. Nomar Garciaparra went 2 for 5, now batting .363. 2 points ahead of Carlos Delgado, 3 ahead of Darren Erstad. Al Martin at the plate with 2 outs. Here in the Mariners' third, Martin struck out back in the first inning. Ground ball to the second baseman. Morandini moving to his left. A 1-2-3 third inning for Steve Trexel. Back in Toronto, the Sanyo Lightship is providing our aerial shots tonight. Reminding you that for total technology, people look up to Sanyo.
Boy, what a beautiful night here.
There it is.
There it is. You know, we were joking before about what good would it be to be above the stadium, but you see the beautiful city lights, and even with the dome closed, you get great shots. But this is a beautiful city here in Toronto. Outstanding, right on the lake.
And we'll be back 2 weeks from tonight on Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday when the Blue Jays host the Yankees. We have that same matchup next Thursday in the Bronx, and then the following week here at Skydome. Mickey Morandini facing Freddie Garcia for the first time. Morandini acquired in early August from the Phillies for Rob Ducey. Ducey was a Blue Jay for 12 days. They acquired him from Philadelphia and then traded him right back. Unfortunately, during that 12-day stretch, Ducey got rid of his apartment in Philadelphia and sent his car home. So when he returned to the Phillies, he had nowhere to live and no mode of transportation. Morandini, the number 9 hitter, walks on 4 pitches. Third walk issued by Freddie Garcia, who was not allowed to hit so far.
Certainly is not the way you want an inning to start off, especially not in the bottom of the order. Mickey Morandini is a good player and has been for a long time. He started out spring training with the Montreal Expos, and when Jose Vidro just showed everybody they knew he was a good hitter, Felipe Alou, the manager of the Expos, had told everybody, watch this kid, he's going to be some hitter. Well, obviously he has been, and Mickey then ended up going back to the Phillies during spring training. But he's a good guy on a ball club.
Shannon Stewart flying to right his first time up, just 1 for his last 14, yet still batting .334.
This guy's got some outstanding tools. He's got pop in his swing. He can really run. He was originally a center fielder. He plays a good left field. Morandini at first base can still run. If Jim Fregosi wants to, as you can see, the Mariners feel the same way, a little concerned about Mickey over there, but Morandini knows how to play the inside game. Good defensive second baseman, can still run. 2 years ago was an all-star with the Chicago Cubs.
Stewart takes ball 2. 6 pitches this inning by Garcia. 6 balls.
And Dan Wilson, who really does a good job handling his pitching staff, went out to see the young right-hander. And you remember what we talked about in the beginning of the game is how big he is. And there's one of the things that you're really concerned about is when you have a great big pitcher to start with, you're all arms and legs, and sometimes your mechanics can leave you, just your command. And it looks like he's not really driving through the plate on his first 6 pitches.
Wow, there's 7 pitches, 7 balls this inning.
I don't know if you noticed, Kenny, on that last delivery, he tried to stay over his back leg longer, meaning he tried to stay balanced before he headed to the plate. And the reason for that is that means it lines you up to where you want to throw the ball.
Finally a strike, 3-1 on Stewart. Garcia has fallen behind 8 of the first 10 hitters he's faced tonight. He's thrown only 2 first pitch strikes.
Well, that's somewhere along the way will catch up to you.
3-1. Stewart got a piece of it, so the count is full with nobody out, bottom third. Morandini the runner on first. Full count on Shannon Stewart with Alex Gonzalez on deck.
I was just watching Terry Bevington, the third base coach, just went through a whole set of signs to Morandini. It'll be interesting to see. Jim Fregosi decides, hey, we better get rolling. We were talking about it earlier, just having broken a 4-game losing streak last night. Sometimes you just try to make some things happen as the manager, and they're in essence at the top of the order now.
Garcia getting set for the payoff pitch. Morandini goes. Stewart strikes out. Morandini steals second.
Well, that's what we were talking about. Trying to make something happen here. And even though Shannon Stewart struck out, Morandini was able to steal the base. Now here is the pitch, as you can see it coming, to Dan Wilson, trying to get the ball off as fast as he can. Look at the hitter getting his way. And it threw his throw off. Now if Dan Wilson had made contact with Shannon Stewart, they could have called interference. Since there was no contact made, they won't call that. In other words, if Dan Wilson banged into the hitter, but as you see, Morandini had a good jump, but the throw was a little off because of where the hitter ended up.
Alex Gonzalez takes a called strike. First steal as a Blue Jay for Mickey Morandini.
See how the hitter fell in front of Dan Wilson? Now, if Dan Wilson had made contact with a hitter, the umpire could have called interference.
Gonzalez falls behind 0-2. He grounded out to the third baseman Guillen his first time up. No score, bottom of the third inning. From Sky Dome, Kenny Albert with Jeff Corborg on Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday. First Thursday during the month of September, as the division races and the wild card head down to the wire. Garcia strikes out Gonzalez on 3 pitches, his second consecutive strikeout, third of the game.
How about that? He threw 7 straight balls, and then he comes back after getting a strikeout and strikes the next hitter out on 3 pitches. We're talking about being a great big guy, and you pitch with your legs. The important thing is to not rush through your delivery. See how he stayed over his back leg and then followed through. He hits off a stiff front leg, which he does all the time. But you have got to go through your delivery in a deliberate motion. You can't rush through it. And when he is throwing well, he doesn't rush through it.
Here's Dave Martinez. Broken bat. And they get the out at second as Morandini was pulled off the bag on the one hopper. So that does it for the Blue Jays in the third. Still no score from Toronto. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday from Toronto. No score. Mariners and the Blue Jays, rubber game of this 3-game set. Mariners lead the season series 7-2. They've won 4 of 5 here in Toronto. And the task at hand here in the 4th inning for Blue Jays pitcher Steve Traxel is to retire 3 former batting champions in a row. Rodriguez, Martinez, Olerud. They've all won American League batting titles. We start with A-Rod, who swings at the first pitch, fouls it off into the crowd behind first base. Rodriguez grounded into a 5-4-3 double play to end the first inning, only the 10th double play he has grounded into all season.
Boy, what a player, and he's still so young, and he's going to be a free agent. He's going to be a very wealthy young man, if he isn't already.
Where do you think he'll wind up?
I have absolutely no idea. I read a lot about it. there's been a lot of talk that he'll stay in Seattle, because he said originally that if they went to the World Series and won the World Series, he'd stay in Seattle. And they're on where they are right now is on course to go to the postseason. 25 years old.
We've heard Mets, we've heard Braves.
I've heard the Rockies.
Dodgers.
Yes, and I've heard that the Rockies are willing to pay him, not unless it's true, but I read somewhere that they're willing to pay him $200 million.
Would you take that?
Wow. I could be his agent. I tell you, I really enjoy watching him play. He is such a good player, and he enjoys playing. It's fun to watch great players, but the great players that really show an exuberance and a love, a passion for the game, makes it fun to watch him. Derek Jeter is spoken of in the same breath. Garcia Parra, Omar Vizquel.
Line drive caught by Batista. One away. Jeff, this week on Fox Sports Net, College Football Saturday. We've got all the action with our first quadruple header of the season. Number 18, Ohio State takes on Arizona. Boston College against Army. Syracuse at Cincinnati. And Wyoming and Texas A&M. The action gets started Saturday, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And the College Football Saturday pregame show presented by Rivals.com previews all the action at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Net. A big Saturday of college football as Edgar Martinez takes ball one. Martinez bounced out to the shortstop Gonzalez, his first time up.
And the fans call out Edgar, Edgar, and of course he's heard that forever. And it sure has slowed down his batting ability throughout his career.
I bet he tunes everything out while over the plate and does not hear any of it.
Kenny, you got it right on. The great hitters are amazing how they can concentrate better at another level than the rest of us. Don Mattingly used to do that. He wouldn't know there was anybody in the ballpark when he was hitting, and I realized watching him up close, that's what all of them would do, the great hitters. Now, someone would talk to you at the plate. Willie Mays would talk to you at the plate, but the minute he locked in on the pitcher, it was, it was like threw a switch and nobody else was there.
As a catcher, would you try and talk to the batters to try and throw them off?
I wasn't that smart to do that, but I tried to talk to him because I just wanted to talk to him. The great players, you wanted to. There was one guy in particular, Pete Rose, would talk to you. In fact, he'd tell you what was coming. Here's Edgar trying to check the swing, and he goes too far. Pete Rose would stand there just before the pitch would come and say, it's a curveball, it's a curveball, I know it's a curveball. And you as a catcher are saying, wait a minute, do I call curveball? He took me right out of my game for a while.
Popped up. Delgado drifting into foul territory, makes the play for the second out.
What was it, the story about Yogi Berra talking to somebody at one point about how did he hold the label? And I think it was Hank Aaron. He said, I'm not up here to read, I'm up here to hit. But Yogi, they said, would try to talk to hitters and kind of distract them a little bit, but I didn't have that kind of leverage. I kept quiet, tried to do my job the best I could.
Here's John Olerud, who signaled to right back in the second inning. Takes strike one, so Traxel has retired the first two former batting champions this inning, Rodriguez and Martinez. Olerud has had great success in his career against Traxel, 9 for 21. 1-1.
Remember how we were talking earlier about how quiet he is at the plate? He is so selective. Look here's his hot zone, and most left-handed hitters like the ball down in the strike zone. He prefers the ball up and out over. And one of the reasons is because his bat's somewhat flat.
Ground ball to the right side. Delgado to Traxel covering. A 1-2-3-4 as Traxel retires all three ex-batting champs from the Mariners. Is setting upon downtown Toronto as we head to the bottom of the fourth inning. Mariners no runs on 3 hits. Blue Jays zeros across. Middle of the order for the Jays. Delgado will lead off. Our Toyota league leaders. Delgado atop 8 offensive categories.
How about that? Boy, what a year he is having. That is incredible. I don't know how much the fans around the country and around the world realize what kind of year he's having. So many other players are having good years as well. But what a year this is.
He's already set a club record for home runs here at home with 29. 29 of his 39 have been hit at Sky Dome. He walked his first time up tonight. So the average remains at 361, 2 points behind Nomar Garciaparra. High and tight, 2-0.
On his first at bat, he didn't get anything to hit. He swung at a 3-0 pitch that was kind of down and away with action on it because he wants to hit so badly. But it's like Freddie Garcia is not going to try to fool around and challenge him too much. Just saw, if you saw the hand action by Carlos Delgado saying, keep the ball down, make it be down. You know, a hitter, when he hasn't seen a lot of pitches and he wants to hit himself his glove, will sometimes expand his strike zone. You don't want to do that.
Ground ball to the second baseman, McLemore in shallow right, throws him out. 1 away. Time now for another Fox Sports Net game break. We take it at Jacobs Field in Cleveland. Big game for the Indians. Bottom of the third inning with no score. Roberto Alomar singles to center, scoring Einar Diaz and Kenny Lofton as the Tribe jump out to a 2-0 lead. Now in the fourth inning, Indians over the Devil Rays. Indians with a 2.5 game lead in the wild card race over the Red Sox, with the Blue Jays 4.5 back.
The Indians have been red hot. They have been playing exceptional baseball. They're getting everybody healthy, and the trades that John Hart made have made them an outstanding team again. Maybe as you see that big curveball from Garcia. But the Indians situation has changed so much by the addition of 3 pitchers, Beret and Woodard and Wickman, and adding 2 hitters in the middle of the order in Segui and Cordero.
They've won 8 of their last 10 games, trail the White Sox by only 6.5.
Yeah, the White Sox are a little concerned. They're thinking, well, they got 3 weeks left. Do we have enough time to hold them off? But the White Sox are a real good ball club, and they can throw a good lineup at you. So it'll be a good race down the stretch. But the Indians maybe are the most dangerous team out there right now in that wild card in the American League.
Pitch from Garcia in the dirt. 1-2 on Brad Fulmer, who flied out to center field back in the second inning.
Kenny, remember I was talking about Fulmer. Watch how he gets in the batter's box. I watched him this spring. He is so intense. And, you know, most times you say, well, a hitter that is so tense cannot really hit real well. But he is so coiled with his legs, his arms, his hands. Look how he stands.
Popped up. Chasing is Guillen in foul territory. Just out of his reach.
He would have caught that ball. The fan that was standing there, he bumped into him when he reached for the ball. But take a look at this. Here he comes toward the stands, and he looks to see where he is, which you have to do around the wall. Now he looks again. Now as he reaches for this ball, he bumps into this fan. See the fan? He hits him on the head, and it disrupts where he's reaching for the ball. And of course, you don't have any rights in those stands. You're going to have to fight your way in there to catch that ball. The fans cannot lean out over and interfere with you, but in there, you're fair game.
Now 2-2 on Fulmer. 1 out in the Blue Jays' fourth. Still no score.
Not as smooth as I've seen him other times. He's jumping around out there on the mound a little bit. Kind of like he's forcing some pitches instead of a real fluid delivery. Normally he's very fluid and let the ball pop at the end and not be as jerky as he is at the end of it.
He got him. Nope, Fuller got a piece of it. So he stays alive at 3-2. 0-2. Tony Batista on deck.
I couldn't think of who Fulmer reminded me of. Looking at him there, he looks like a small version of Goldberg, the wrestler. Doesn't he? Look at him. Very strong. But...
And it takes the father of a pro wrestler to know one. Fulmer with a drive, curving foul into the right field stands. How is the Demon doing?
Demon's doing very well.
Dale Torborg, son of Jeff and Susie, the Demon in the WCW.
He will marry the wrestler named Asia from the WCW in October. And they'll have little Bam Bams, maybe.
It's not a real name, is it?
Her name is Christy.
What do you call it?
Anything she wishes me to.
McLemore throws out Fulmer for the second out.
She is quite a gal. She is the strongest woman I have ever seen. She was a national bodybuilding champion. Great athlete. She came very close to making the U.S. Olympic team a few years back in the quarter mile.
Well, Freddie Garcia has allowed only 3 base runners, all on walks. Here's Tony Batista, who did not look good in striking out back in the second inning.
Yeah, here I am criticizing his delivery. He's got a no-hitter going, and he's just been all over the place. It hasn't been... He has a little movement with his foot, his front foot. When you see him go through his delivery, he kind of kicks it with a little jab step that gives him a little jerk to his delivery. But normally, there it is, right there. See how he pushes it down? Remember a pitcher named Jim Bibby?
Yep.
Big Bib used to do that. Tendency as he brought his foot up and then back down. Let's see if we can see it. As he lifts it up, he brings it up, then he jams it down.
Bibby pitched for you in Cleveland?
Yes, yes, and then he ended up with the Pirates, of course, on that World Championship Ball Club in 1979. Had the biggest hands of any pitcher I've ever seen.
And the brother of former basketball star Henry Bibby.
Yes.
And the uncle of Mike Bibby.
Yes.
Who plays for the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Well, Jim Bibby, we tried to get that out of his delivery because he used to kick violently with his front foot, his left foot, and it would throw him off a little bit. Now, a little bit of that will throw a hitter off a little bit. You know, if you see a little jerk in a pitcher's delivery. But if it's too much, it forces the pitcher back up, and he does not stay down through his pitches.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Batista goes down on strikes for the second time tonight. 3 up, 3 down in the 4th. We move to the 5th inning from Skydome.
Cast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
Back in Toronto, we move to the 5th. No score. Our 7-11 trivia question: name Rickey Henderson's 6 former teams. And one of them he played for 4 times. Give you a couple of minutes to think about it. Mariners are Rickey's 7th Major League club. Mike Cameron leading off for Seattle here in the 5th. Cameron with one of the Mariners' 3 hits in the game. He singled to left field back in the 2nd inning. Ball strike, 0-2.
It's amazing to think about a guy that's going to go directly to the Hall of Fame, having been on that many teams. Especially the kind of player that he is, you know, that catalyst, that front end of the order. He's the prototypical leadoff hitter, could fly, but also has power.
Remember, he began this year with the New York Mets.
Right, he did, didn't he? He didn't see eye to eye the way he was being used. That all began last year in the playoffs. He was taken out defensively in a one particular ball game, and Rickey didn't feel like he was shown respect.
Fly ball deep left field. Back to the track is Stewart. It's off the wall. In at second with a stand-up double is Cameron, his second hit tonight, and the first extra base hit of the ball game.
Well, this ball really fooled Shannon Stewart. He got turned in the wrong way. What happens is the ball that's hit over your head is the most difficult one. Here's the pitch. It's a hanging off speed pitch, and Mike Cameron lofts it over Shannon Stewart's head, and Shannon gets the ball directly over his head, and he turns the wrong way. You see, he thinks it's going to be over his left shoulder, and it isn't. It spins him around. See how it fades away from him. And if he had turned a different route and if he had run it the other way, that his glove hand would have been right by the fence.
And then it rolled back through his legs. Picked up by the center fielder Cruz. So a leadoff double here in the 5th inning. As Carlos Guillen steps in, fouled out to the third baseman Batista. His first time up tonight.
But you see Guillen fake the bunt. Now what I used to do as a manager, and a lot of managers will do this, you'll say, I want that guy on third base. When you have a runner at second and none out, if you don't think you can pull the ball to the right side of the infield, you better bunt it. And 2 nights ago in here, Jay Buhner bunted. That's the first sacrifice for him in many a year. And it was one of the reasons they won the ball game 4-3. As you can see, Traxel and Fletcher trying to keep the ball away from Guillen. They do not want the ball pulled to the right side. So the reason for that is if you hit the ball to the left side, it's in front of the runner, and you can throw the runner out at third base. But if you pull the ball to the right side behind the runner, the rule of thumb is the runner, anything that he can make pass to his left side or over his left shoulder, he can go to third base.
Traxel missing ball 3, 3-0 on Carlos Guillen. No score, top 5. Dan Wilson waiting on deck. Cameron, the runner, on second.
Interesting grip that you see Steve Traxel start with. He starts with his changeup grip, not a split finger grip, but a changeup grip.
Called strike, 3-1 on Guillen.
Most pitchers start with the most difficult grip that they have of any of their pitches because they figure they can switch them to an easier grip in their glove. So he starts with almost like a palm ball changeup grip.
He walked him. First walk given up by Traxel tonight, and the Mariners have runners on first and second with nobody out.
Well, now the Blue Jays are going to look for the bunt, and they're going to have to defend against this. This is one of the bunt defenses. When you have runners at first and second, you normally put your signs on through the third baseman, but some will put them on through the first baseman. And right now, Carlos Delgado is at the mound telling the pitcher what's on. Now, there are several ways to defend against this bunt. That's Dave Stewart, the pitching coach, watching intently. I don't know if that was a sign or not. Did you see Darren Fletcher give 3 up on his mask as though he were putting a sign on?
He means go for the triple play.
Ah, you know what this was? This is the wheel play. Yeah, go for the, you're right. This is a wheel play. The wheel play is when a shortstop breaks. Everybody breaks off the shortstop. When the shortstop breaks to third base, the third baseman breaks in. And then the third baseman can turn and, if he feels the ball, make the play to third. They're trying to keep the runner from being at third base. The normal defense on this play is when the pitcher goes over to field the ball on the line himself and the third baseman anchors. The Blue Jays give the signs to the catcher, not the third baseman or first baseman.
Wilson lays down the bunt, and it rolls foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's interesting. This is a little bit of a cat and mouse game. There's also a pickoff off this where it looks like you're trying to get the bunt down and you turn around and you throw a pickoff play in at second base to try to get the runner coming over. Larry Bowa giving the signs, the offensive signs, to the Mariners. You see Darren Fletcher, he's given the signs to the pitcher, I believe, to make sure the pitcher sees them. Most times on these clubs, they'll go to the mound and tell the pitcher. Timeout, Darren Fletcher. Indicates he wants from the umpire. Here, go again. Remember, besides those signs, you got the regular pitch signs. Now you got a runner at second base, so you got a sequence you have to give. Because the runner at second can look right in and see the sign.
Gets down the bunt. Traxel off the mound, throws to first. Both runners advance. Sacrifice 1-4.
It's a very nice bunt. A little surprised. I think the pitch selection. I think it was a breaking ball. But you see where the bunt is laid right down the third base line when he goes here, and that's really where you want it because you want somebody to field the ball on the third base side. Look where everyone is. He has to go to first base. One of the things you talk about is make sure of one. If he tried to turn and go to third, there's a chance he wouldn't get anybody. I was a little surprised. I believe the pitch selection was a breaking ball. And because it was soft, Dan Wilson was able to just put it down the third baseline.
Wilson among the league leaders, his 11th sacrifice bunt. Here's the number 9 hitter, Mark McLemore, who flies to center. Leading off the third inning, McLemore comes to the plate with runners on second and third, and only one out.
Mark has been around a long time, and he has been a good player for a long time. First time I saw him was with the Angels, and then went to Baltimore and Texas. Knows how to play the game.
0-1.
Now that was not the kind of swing you want to see normally. Now on the first pitch you can get away with that, a first strike for you, but he's got to put the ball in play, and he knows it. That was a nasty off-speed pitch by Traxel. The bottom fell out. I think it was a split. You know, normally as a hitter you're kind of looking fastball, maybe guessing fastball early in the count. Struggled a little bit more left-handed this year. He's at 226 only from the left side, hitting over 300 from the right side.
Ball 1-1 on McLemore. One out, runners on second and third with no score. Top of the 5th inning from Toronto.
Are playing the infield back in the middle and on the right side and semi back on the left side, so they're giving up a run on a ground ball. So Mark McLemore, from the standpoint of a situational hitter, has got to at least make contact on the ground in the infield. Jim Fregosi doesn't want to give up 2 runs by pulling the infield in and making it easier to get the ball through.
Ball to the right side, off the glove of Delgado. 2 runs will score. McLemore on his way to second, and the Mariners have taken a 2-0 lead.
Well, the veteran got the ball he wanted, and he pulled it down the first baseline, driving in 2 runs. Delgado made a nice effort at trying to get this ball, and it goes off his glove. It's just inside the first base bag. Here's Carlos getting ready for this ball, and the ball is pulled inside the base, and he takes 2-3 steps and then a dive, and he almost comes up with it.
So after Traxel retired A-Rod, Martinez, and Olerud in order in the 4th inning, he runs into trouble against the bottom of the order. The 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters here in the 5th. Cameron led off with a double. Off the left field fence, Guillen walked. Wilson with the sacrifice, and McLemore the 2-run double. His 38th and 39th runs batted in. Here's Rickey Henderson. Rickey 1 for 2 tonight. double of the inning. RBI number 27 for Rickey Henderson.
Well, they're working the lines. There's not much you can do about this. You cannot defend the two balls that you've just seen hit to drive in 3 runs. Here's Rickey. He takes an off-speed pitch on the inner part of the plate, a little elevated inside pitch, and pulls it inside third base. See, Darren Fletcher sets up outside. The ball comes back on the plate. That's not where he wanted that pitch. And Bautista can't do a thing about that ball.
Jim Fregosi's Blue Jays have fallen behind 3-0. 3 runs on 3 doubles here in the 5th. Al Martin 0 for 2. Strikeout and a ground out. On the first pitch, he drills this one to deep center field. Cruz back on the warning track. He makes the catch for the second out.
Al Martin really crushed this ball. Jose Cruz tracked it down. It looked like he had it all the way. Rickey Henderson was kicking himself a little bit. He was thinking that that ball goes off the fence. He went halfway off to second base. He tried to score, and then when he realized it was going to be caught, he went back and tried to tag up quickly. And with that, the action you're seeing in the bullpen, Paul Quantrill, the right-hander, getting loose.
Remains on second with 2 outs as Alex Rodriguez steps in. A-Rod 0 for 2 tonight, has not gotten the ball out of the infield. He takes ball 1 from Traxel. Well, Traxel was involved in a scoreless duel through 4 innings. As you mentioned, he was involved in a couple of 1-0 games earlier this season with the Devil Rays. He became the first pitcher ever to win 1-0 games at Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium in the same year.
And was it back-to-back as well?
Against Pedro Martinez and El Duque, Orlando Hernandez. One on Alex Rodriguez, 2 outs in the Mariners' 5th. Henderson takes his lead off second. 2-1.
Well, they're pitching very carefully here, but you got to realize in this batting order behind Rodriguez is Edgar Martinez and also John Olerud, but they're going to breaking stuff. They don't want to challenge A-Rod with a fastball.
Martinez on deck. Rodriguez into left center, and the catch is made by Shannon Stewart. But the damage has been done for the Mariners in the 5th. 3 runs on 3 doubles. Mark McLemore drove in 2 of the Mariners' 3 runs. Mid-5 from Skydome, 3-0 Seattle. Welcome back to Skydome. Kenny Albert with Jeff Torborg. We take you back to our 7-11 trivia. Name Rickey Henderson's 6 former clubs. Oakland 4 times. Yankees, Blue Jays, Padres, Angels, and the Mets. 7 in all.
He still can play at an advanced age, and his game is a speed game.
29 steals this year at the age of 41. Darren Fletcher falls behind 0-2. Henderson, the only active major leaguer with 4 different stints with 1 ball club. He could make it 5. You know, Henderson has talked about the possibility of finishing his career, whenever that may be, next year, the year after that, with Oakland.
Really? It's interesting. Kind of look at it. The guy's been on 4 different clubs. You say, now did they get it wrong the first 4 times or what? Or did somebody wear out his welcome? Obviously, he was very, very successful there.
if he ever did go back, he would also have played with Oakland in 4 different decades. Came up in '79. He's already a 4-decade major leaguer. That one got away from Garcia.
Look at where he's starting to rank in Major League annals. Already got the Major League record in steals. 2nd in Major League history in walks. 4th in runs. He's not too far behind Babe Ruth and Henry Aaron's in the runs.
And the crowd reacts. That is the first hit of the game for the Blue Jays. A leadoff single off the bat of Darren Fletcher here in the 5th inning. Saturday, it's This Week in Baseball with host Barry Bonds as he talks about how much better it is to play ball in Patch Bell Park and what it was like growing up as the godson of Willie Mays. Catch This Week in Baseball Saturdays on Fox, 12:30 Eastern and Pacific. You can catch it again right here on Fox Sports Net Mondays at 5:30. Check local listings. It's as close to the game as you can get. So for the 2nd straight week on Baseball Thursday, we watched the no-hitter through 4 innings. Kevin Millwood last week with the Braves. Freddie Garcia here tonight. And it comes to an end as Darren Fletcher singles to right. Jose Cruz flying to center his first time up. Takes ball 2.
I remember last week when we were talking about Kevin Millwood, he had come off the broken nose and he was pitching beautifully, and all of a sudden he lost it. He just got to the 6th inning and he just could not throw strikes, and he didn't have much pop on the ball. It's been kind of a little bit reverse has been true with Freddie Garcia. He's been all over the place in the early part of the game, and that they really hadn't hit him, but sometimes you're too wild to be hit. Have a pitcher who's a little wild, he's not going to get the close pitches that are on the corner when he is wild. And Freddie Garcia just got an moving fastball on the outside part of the plate, called for a strike for him.
The 3-1 ground ball to the second baseman McLemore to A-Rod for 1 over to first. Double play. The Mariners turn the 4-6-3 to a race. Darren Fletcher.
Did you see that rifle shot that A-Rod threw across the infield? When he was fed that ball by Mark McLemore, Alex Rodriguez came across second base knowing he has a base runner that can really run. And Jose Cruz, and he threw a bullet across the infield. Watch this develop.
The second hit of the inning for the Blue Jays as Morandini singles into left center.
Now Mickey's been on twice tonight. He walked first time up, stole a base, and now he's on with a base hit. But you know, when you have a pitcher who, there are some people that get people out because hitters will say he doesn't have enough to hit. But in the case of Freddie Garcia, he's got such action on his ball that when he does get it near the plate and it's a 2-seam sinker, hitters pull off the ball, and that's why he gets the ground balls.
Here's Shannon Stewart, who's 0 for 2 tonight. Fly to right, struck out. 3-0 Mariners. Mariners looking to win a series for the first time in their last 8. In their last 8 series, in their last 7 coming into this one, they've lost 6, split 1. And they are still in first place in the American League West, despite having lost 17 of their last 23 games.
Well, they're in a tough division. You know, those guys are banging each other around. Of course, then all those West Coast teams had to go through the Midwest and the East. And they ran into some hot clubs like Detroit and Cleveland, the White Sox, the Yankees, the Red Sox.
Stewart fouls it back.
think if you'd asked Lou Piniella in the beginning of the year if he could get to be in September and be a game and a half ahead, I think he would have taken it.
Especially after the Griffey trade.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's right.
They led by 7 back in August before their 6-17 stretch. Here's the third baseman, Guillen. Throws across in the dirt. Nice scoop by Olerud to retire Stewart. 5 innings in the books from Sky Dome. 3-0 Mariners. Welcome back to Sky Dome. 3-6-0 for the Mariners. 2 hits for the Blue Jays. Well, Sanyo and the crew of Sanyo Lightship are proud to be a part of Fox Sports Net's coverage of tonight's game. The Sanyo Lightship hovering high above Sky Dome here in Toronto. You ever go for a ride in one of those?
No. No, they get some great shots, though. Louis P's working on his batting stroke in the dugout there in case they need a pinch hitter. He used to do that when he was playing left field with the Yankees. He'd look up and he's in the outfield in his stance.
Edgar Martinez bounces one foul, falls behind 0-2. What a terrific job Lou Piniella has done. This is 9th season with the Mariners, 14th as a Major League manager. As you mentioned, won a World Championship with the Reds back in 1990. In first place in September here in the year 2000.
It took Lou a long time to get to the big leagues, if you remember, and then when he did get to the big leagues, he became Rookie of the Year. And of course, by the time he got to the Yankees, he was an established hitter, and he became a heck of a player for the Yankees. Boy, and what a heady player. One of the guts of that ball club that won several world championships.
Came up with Kansas City. Traxel quickly off the mound, throws out Martinez, who is now 0 for 3. Quick footwork by Traxel. You know, when you think Steve Traxel, one of the first moments that comes to mind 2 years ago, September of '98, Mark McGwire's 62nd home run off Traxel.
I had forgotten that. When I first heard his name, he was an All-American at Long Beach State out in California. I remember they went to the College World Series with him pitching for them.
Here's John Olerud, who's 1 for 2 tonight. Takes a called strike. McGwire's 62nd home run 2 years ago tomorrow, September 8th, 1998. Olerud drops this one in. It's a fair ball just inside the left field line. Olerud's 2nd hit of the night. Time now for another Fox Sports Net game break. We take you to Comerica Park in Detroit. Tigers hosting the Angels. Top of the 2nd inning, no score. Troy Gloss solo shot to left field as the Angels take a 1-0 lead. It is now 5-3 Anaheim in the 6th. Home run number 41 for Gloss. He is tied with Frank Thomas for the American League lead. Carlos Delgado 2 and back.
What a good-looking player. That new breed of big third baseman. And look at the Tigers at the bottom of that wild card. They got off to such a rotten start and weren't sure they were going to end up in the American League. Phil Garner's done a heck of a job pulling that club together. Remember, they didn't know how that new ballpark was going to play. They said it was too big in the cold weather. The ball wasn't going anywhere. It seems to be going now, and they're playing good baseball.
They've had a terrific second half. 2 games over the 500 mark. Tigers will be here tomorrow to begin a 3-game set with the Blue Jays. Strike call on the outside corner. 0-2 on Mike Cameron, who has 2 hits tonight. He doubled in the 5th inning and scored the Mariners' first run.
Yeah, you made a comment before about the Mariners, who thought they'd be where they are without Ken Griffey Jr. Well, this kid had to jump into that hole left in center field there, and one of the greatest players in the game, or whoever played the game, leaves, and Mike Cameron's done a heck of a job for them playing center field.
Now 1-2 on Cameron. Olerud, the runner, on first. 1 away. Carlos Guillen on deck. And while the Mariners are in first place in the AL West, the Reds 9.5 out in the National League Central with Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr. still having a great year. You know, he got off to a slow start from the standpoint of batting average, but he certainly didn't hurt the way he was producing runs for that ball club. They just had so many injuries. It's taking its toll.
Cameron called out on strikes. He strikes out for the 115th time this season among the league leaders in the American League. 3rd strikeout of the game for Steve Trachsel.
I think it's a high curveball. You see it starting to break, and it's up and away. That is a tough pitch to take and get called on you. Watch it again. See it start to break down, but it looked like it was a little high. That's the strike zone that the rule book talks about, but that you don't see called that much. I think you're going to start seeing more and more. Sandy Alderson of the commissioner's office said they are going to review the strike zone and get back to what the rule book states, and that's from the armpits to above the knees.
Here's Carlos Guillen, who walked and scored his last time up as Trachsel wheels to first. Olerud certainly not a threat to run. He has not stolen a base this year.
Kind of interesting, isn't it? Everywhere Olerud goes, teams happen to win.
2 World Series titles here in Toronto. Mets went to the playoffs last year. Won the wild card series with the Diamondbacks before losing to the Braves in 6. Olerud had a tough decision to make, return home to the state of Washington. And the Mets replaced him with Todd Zeile, who's having a nice year.
Yes. But that play to end the bottom of the inning before, where Olerud just picked the ball out of the dirt, could have been a big inning if he doesn't come up with the ball, and he makes it look easy, and it's an out. The son of a gun can play. And you don't even know he's around. He's so quiet.
Ian goes fishing, 0-2.
Reminds me of the Yankees. The Yankees started winning when they got a guy named Paul O'Neill. Some people just seem to bring a presence with them wherever they go. Obviously, you need other people around you as well.
The 0-2 from Trachsel. On away, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Trachsel throws a lot of pitches and he throws a lot of balls in the dirt, but to be effective, he's got to keep doing that because he's got good downward breaking balls. He's got a good curveball that goes down. He's got a good split finger that goes down, and even his changeup goes down. And if he pitches off of those and then spots his fastball, it makes him much more effective than the other way around. Coaching staff because he had an illness, cancer pop up, and he wanted to be closer to home in Clearwater. So he's giving the signs to Darren Fletcher the catcher as to the base runner situation at first base. Olerud not going anywhere, so you could see Lee didn't even mess around with any sequence of signs.
Lee Elia, one of 3 former managers on Jim Fragosi's coaching staff, along with Tito Gaston, former manager here in Toronto, and Terry Bevington, who used to manage the Chicago White Sox. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Carlos Guillen, 2 outs. Olerud the runner on first, with the Mariners leading the Blue Jays 3-0.
A lot of former Chicago managers in this ballpark tonight. Lee Elia.
One sitting to my right.
Jim Fregosi, yeah. Terry Bevington, third base coach.
Jeff Torborg.
Yeah, I replaced Jim Fregosi. And Terry Bevington was my third base coach. And then he replaced Gene Lamont, who, well, so it goes down the line.
You are watching Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday from Skydome. Mariners 3, Blue Jays 0. Top of the 6th inning. Traxel misses high, and the count is now full on Carlos Guillen. Three runs on 7 hits for the Mariners, no runs on 2 hits for the Blue Jays. Base. So Olerud heads back. And the search for the ball in the stands continues. Where is it?
It was right near where that fellow was that got hit with a pop-up before and ended up with a ball.
Fans still looking for it. Another foul. So Guillen stays alive.
I'm not used to coming to this ballpark and seeing so few fans. This place, years ago, when they had their real good ball clubs, was almost always packed. In fact, they set records here. Last night's crowd was the smallest crowd since May.
Just over 21,000. Another foul. In fact, when you and I woke up this morning in separate hotel rooms, of course, we looked into an empty Skydome, staying at the Skydome Hotel with rooms overlooking the outfield.
I sat up there last night and watched the ball game, watched it on television, also watched out of the room.
There's my room right there.
Boy, what you won't learn watching our telecast.
Guillen grounds this one to the second baseman, Morandini. He throws out Carlos Guillen. Olerud stranded, middle of the 6th from Toronto. 3-0 Mariners. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday from Toronto, where the Mariners have a 3-0 lead over John Olerud's former club. We spoke about Olerud with his manager.
Olerud has been just a real nice acquisition for us. Not only has he been extremely consistent and productive for us offensively, but at the same time he's done a heck of a job at first base with the glove, and he presents such a 6'5" frame for infielders to throw to. They love it.
Olerud has committed only 5 errors all season long.
Interesting when you think about the real good clubs, as we mentioned, around baseball, and when you used to go into Seattle, you didn't think about real good defensive teams. They struggled defensively. course, their ballpark now, the new home ballpark up in Seattle, is more pitcher friendly than it used to be, so they got the real good pitching staff this year, plus the better defense. It's interesting to watch the changeover in the type of baseball that they play.
Garcia strikes out Gonzalez, strikeout number 5 for Freddie Garcia. It's interesting you mentioned that. The Mariners have the lowest home batting average in the league and the highest road batting average.
Yeah, that's not the way it usually works in this game, because most clubs hit much better at home. In fact, there's sometimes that there's suspicion that the home clubs are getting some help somehow, audio visually, you know, but here the Mariners in that new ballpark are just the opposite.
In fact, on the pitching side, Mariners have the lowest home ERA. On the road, the second highest. Dave Martinez 0 for 2 tonight. Takes a called strike, 0-1.
And you take a look at the Houston Astros. They went into that new ballpark, Enron Field, and their pitching staff got roasted. They couldn't handle the new home ballpark. It's a different type of park, completely different from the Astrodome.
On one hop, McLemore spins and throws out Martinez for the second out. Time for another Fox Sports Net game break. Cardinals hosting the Expos at Busch. Cardinals jump out early. Bottom of the first inning, Jim Edmonds connects, number 39 on the year, a 2-run shot to right field. Darryl Kyle, 7 strong innings on the mound as the Cardinals win this one easily over the Expos, 6-1. Kyle wins his 17th. He allowed only 1 earned run, struck out 10. Cardinals have won 12 of their last 15, and they have the largest lead of any first-place club in baseball.
And they're doing all this without Mark McGwire. Is that amazing? Well, I tell you, I saw them every other day during spring training. I thought they were going to be good, but I didn't know they were going to be this good. It just goes to show you what Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa can do with veteran pitchers that they get from other places, and they're almost like reclamation jobs. And they pull them all together.
9.5 game lead over the Cincinnati Reds. 2 balls, no strikes on Carlos Delgado.
Walt Jocketty, the general manager, has done such a magnificent job of putting that team together. And even when they had a need for a first baseman, they go out and get Will Clark from Baltimore. He's been great. Jim Edmonds in spring training. Will Clark got 2 more hits today. All he's hitting is .369 since he came over to the St. Louis Cardinals. And Walt Jocketty put together a very deep team in spring training. In fact, he already had an outfield in place when he got Edmonds. So then you say, well, what are they going to do with 4 outfielders? Well, Tony's been able to use a rotation.
Delgado walks on 4 pitches. Second time Garcia has walked Delgado tonight. Jeff, our Top Flight XL 2000 home run leaderboard. The 97 Mariners hold the major league record. They hit 264 home runs. Blue Jays on pace to fall just shy. They were ahead of the Mariners' pace, but have gone 6 now into their 7th consecutive game without a home run.
Well, if anybody right now, other than the man who's standing at first base, is capable of popping one out of here, Brad Fulmer is. He hit a couple balls real hard the first 2 times up, foul.
Blue Jays already have 5 players with 20 or more home runs, 2 within reach. Fletcher has 17. Shannon Stewart has 19. Only 1 team in the history of baseball, and the Blue Jays are almost a lock to become the second club with 7 20-plus home run hitters. The 96 Orioles for the first. Wilson visits Garcia. Here are the top 6. Delgado, Batista, Fulmer, Cruz, Mondesi, and Stewart. Stewart with 19. Darren Fletcher has 17. Look at the Blue Jays record, 8-22 when they have not hit a home run.
You know, it really hurt him too, losing Mondesi. Mondesi was having a heck of a year for him, and he hurt his throwing arm and has had surgery. And to lose a big gun like that, there's another big power hitter, obviously from those numbers, but also an outstanding defensive right fielder. It changes your lineup around. Just doesn't look the same.
2-0 to Fulmer. Ground ball to the second baseman, McLemore. Throws him out. And that will do it for the Blue Jays in the 6th. 6 innings in the books from Toronto. Still 3-0. Pictures being brought to you by the Sanyo Lightship, one of the largest airships in the world. In case you were wondering, it is 165 feet long and holds over 150,000 cubic feet of helium. The Sanyo Lightship.
Somebody said there's a lot of hot air up here.
Definitely in this booth. Dan Wilson fouls off the first pitch from Steve Trachsel here in the 7th inning. All 3 runs of the game scored in the Mariners' 5th as Cameron, McLemore, and Henderson all doubled. McLemore drove in 2, Henderson the other Seattle run. Wilson helped out with a sacrifice, advancing 2 base runners. He's behind in the count right here. No balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, other than that inning, Trachsel really has done a nice job. And maybe that inning, the one that hurt him most, maybe not the 3 doubles, the walk in between kept things going, and that allowed them to bunt the runner over. The runners, I should say.
Trachsel, despite his high loss totals over the last couple of years, has been a workhorse, now 1-2 on Wilson. He has 3 complete games this year. He's one of only 10 major league pitchers over the last 4 years to pitch over 200 innings each year. Foul ball down the left field line. He made the most starts during the decade of the 90s on the Cubs staff. Signed as a free agent with the Devil Rays, and they traded him at the deadline up here to Toronto.
Gord Ash made a good couple moves to try to help out this pitching staff here as Wilson hits the ball to right field.
So on Trachsel's 100th pitch of the game, Wilson flies out to Martinez on the right field warning track. The NFL this morning returns this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Net with Chris Myers, Jackie Slater, Marv Levy, and Chris Spielman as they deliver the latest news, injuries, and weather as they close in on kickoff with expert analysis from John Madden, Matt Millen, Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, and Chris Collinsworth. The NFL this morning, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, only on Fox Sports Net. Here's Mark McLemore, who takes a called strike. McLemore, the big hit, a 2-run double off the glove of first baseman Carlos Delgado. Back in the 5th inning, driving in the first 2 runs of the game. In the dirt, skids away from the catcher Darren Fletcher, 1-1.
Before about Gord Ash, the general manager of the Blue Jays, went out and got Loaiza and Trachsel because his good young starters were struggling. Roy Halladay, Chris Carpenter, Kelvin Escobar. Everybody in baseball a year ago thought that this Toronto Blue Jay pitching staff had some of the best young arms in the game.
And Joey Hamilton was on the DL as well.
Right, and then Frank Castillo, who turned out to be the 2nd best pitcher on this staff, went down. And, you know, have you ever seen so many bouncing balls? To still be pitching a good game, an awful lot of balls in the dirt.
Maybe in the beach.
Well, you know, we talked about in the beginning of the game that he had to keep the ball down. I guess maybe he's making sure he does. But David Wells, of course, is the ace of the staff. Frank Castillo had really done a good job here, and when he went down, they had to do something. There's Gord Ash.
Trachsel missing outside, and the count is full. David Wells leads the American League with 19 wins.
Boy, it's fun to watch him pitch. It's one of those guys that, here it is, I'd rather see you hit the ball than walk you, but boy, what a competitor he is.
McLemore. Off the glove of Delgado, but he's able to toss it to Traxel. Remember, McLemore's double deflected off the glove of Carlos Delgado, but this time an easier play for the Blue Jays first baseman, 2 away.
This is another ball hit right on the button. This is a nice play by Delgado. He doesn't cleanly come up with the ball, but he keeps it around him so that he can turn around and flip it to first. This is a nice play. Remember, when you're playing on artificial turf, you can see this stuff is so fast. And we'll say it again, if you remember, Carlos Delgado came up through the minor leagues with the Blue Jays as a catcher. So he had to learn to play the other position, either the outfielder or at first base.
And learn to block the ball as a catcher.
Yes.
Ricky Henderson, 2 hits tonight. Singled in the first inning, doubled in the 5th, driving in the Mariners' 3rd run. Towering pop-up. Batista calling for it. It finally comes down into the glove of the Blue Jays' 3rd baseman. As we head to the bottom of the 7th, let's take a look at what's coming your way tonight on the National Sports Report following the game. For that, we take you to the Fox Network Center. In Toronto, our McDonald's game summary. Mark McLemore, 2-run double in the 5th inning. Mariners pitcher Freddie Garcia has allowed only 2 hits through 6. Here's McLemore back in the 5th off Traxel, off the glove of Delgado. Cameron and Guillen come in to score. Mariners took a 2-0 lead and would extend their lead on Henderson's double, which drove in McLemore. Batista leads things off for the Blue Jays. Batista has not looked good in striking out twice tonight. Traxel, 7 hits allowed. The 3 doubles in the 5th. 4 singles otherwise. Batista takes a called strike 1.
Tony Batista having the unique hitting stance, and he's kind of out of whack at this point. He's been struggling for about a week, chasing bad balls.
Foul back behind third base, 1 and 2.
You see many more open stances now in the major league level, but this is the most exaggerated that you will see. It almost looks like he's going to take batting practice in another direction.
Balls, 2 strikes.
But he gets back in a position to hit, and it works for him. And there's his hot zone. He doesn't like the ball too far out over the plate. As you can see, he likes the ball in the middle of the plate. For a guy with as many home runs as he has, you'd be surprised. I'm a little surprised he has so many cold areas.
3 and 2. Lost him. 5th walk of the game issued by Freddie Garcia.
Take a look at this stance. You want to see a different looking stance. Look at this. It looks like he's aiming that way to hit, but then he closes up with his feet and he takes his hands back. Now he's ready to hit, and he's in a hitting position that every other hitter would be, and you can see where his foot ends. See? But what it does, it keeps him closed. That's why he likes that stance, and it has both eyes on the pitcher.
Here's Darren Fletcher, who takes a called strike. Fletcher has reached base twice tonight. He's walked and singled.
Where Freddie Garcia has really gotten out of a lot of jams is when he gets into a situation like this, he throws a sinker away from a left-hander, and they just roll over the ball and pull it for a double play or at least a ground out.
You called it. 6-4-3.
Well, that's what happens with a pitcher who has a ball in his repertoire, a fastball that moves a lot. because the hitters can put it in play, but they can't elevate it because it keeps moving downward. This is not an easy play. This ball was a short hop, and the shortstop was a bullet. And Alex Rodriguez stayed with it, made it look easy. And they didn't even have to rush the turn.
Here's Jose Cruz. Cruz 0 for 2 tonight. That was Garcia's 100th pitch, and for a guy who's allowed only 2 hits, this is amazing. His strikes to balls ratio, 51 strikes, 49 balls.
I believe it. I really believe it. He's gotten away because his stuff moves so much that when he got behind in the count and the hitters were up on him, they would hit his pitch because the thing was shooting all over the place. Now, I've had him before, or watched him before, watched him pitch. I've seen him other times that he was much more fluid than he is tonight, but obviously this is working. He's working on all sorts of things. He just put his elbow inside. My elbow dropped down, but he's jumping off the mound tonight instead of gliding toward the plate. He's jumping, kind of catapulting.
3-0. He walks Cruz on 4 pitches, 6 walks issued by Garcia, but he's allowed only 2 base hits. And these 6 walks are a season high. He had walked 5 in a game 4 times. That's Brian Price, the Mariners' young pitching coach. 2 outs, Cruz on first for Mickey Morandini. Strike call to the inside corner. Morandini has reached base twice tonight. He's walked and singled.
You know, last year in the beginning of the year, he was running out of gas, Freddie Garcia, that is. He was getting tired in the 5th or 6th inning, and Lou Piniella decided that he wanted him to stop working out so hard in between.
Cruz goes. No throw from Wilson. Steal of the year for Jose Cruz.
Well, that's just a situation where they were not even concerning themselves with a runner at first base. Normally, when you're 3 runs down, you won't run here. But if you know they're not being watched, why not take it if they're giving it to you? Good lead to begin with. Because you know exactly what the Mariners are thinking at this particular point. Freddie Garcia and Dan Wilson, they are just trying to throw strikes. They weren't paying any attention to that runner. Hard to say that they felt that Freddie Garcia was doing too much work in between. He was running all around the ballpark and all. They cut him back. They had him work a couple days real hard and then work on a stationary bike, and then he had much better stamina.
Garcia missing inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Mickey Morandini. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th inning. Garcia working on a shutout. Mariners leading 3-0. This time missing outside. 2-2.
Boy, he wanted that one. He was heading toward the dugout. That was that sinker on the outside part of the plate, and the veteran Morandini, who has a little short stroke, didn't go for it.
Popped up in shallow right. McLemore, the second baseman, backpedaling, makes the play to retire the Blue Jays in the 7th. Cruz stranded on second. After 7 in Toronto, still 3-0 Mariners. We welcome you back to Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday from Skydome in Toronto with Jeff Torborg. I'm Kenny Albert. We move to the 8th inning. 3 runs, 7 hits for the Mariners. No runs on only 2 hits for the Blue Jays. Steve Traxel, Blue Jays starter, working into the 8th. A called strike, so Al Martin falls behind 0-1. Martin 0 for 3 tonight. All 3 Mariner runs scored in the 5th inning. Both Blue Jay hits came in the 5th, a pair of singles. Well hit, right field. Martinez watches it. Leave the ballpark. Al Martin, a solo home run leading off the 8th inning. His 3rd as a member of the Mariners. And they now lead 4-0.
Okay, if you remember his last at bat, he hit a shot to right center field that Jose Cruz Jr. ran down right at the fence, and he didn't miss this one. This one went way out. He crushed this one. But he just missed the time at bat before this one, so he was seeing the ball well against Steve Traxel. Here's the pitch. A hanging breaking ball right in the middle of the plate. This is a curveball that hangs up there. See it spin and just stay right up. Belt high, and boy, he crushed it.
Almost broke my hotel room window. Martin had been just 1 for his last 21. He takes Traxel deep. 4-0 Seattle. Alex Rodriguez 0 for 3. Line drive just foul. Down the left field line, 0-2.
Well, here's a shot. Nice overhead shot. See the open stance. Now you'll see a spinning breaking ball right over the middle of the plate. There it comes. See him stride into the ball. Look what it is. Almost in the heart of the plate, and he catches the ball out front. Look how far out front he gets it. And boy, does it go. Lou Piniella arrested Jay Buhner. Jay Buhner's got a very tender hand. I saw him before the game tonight, and he can't shake hands at all with his right hand. But he had a home run here last night. But Lou rested Jay tonight and put Al Martin in there, and he gets a home run from that position again.
When Jay Buhner missed 13 games with a wrist injury, he was on the DL. His replacements in right field, he had only 109 during those 13 games with 1 home run. All smiles in the Mariners dugout tonight as they look to extend their lead in the American League West. Rodriguez with a shot into the gap in right center. Bounces over for a ground rule double. So the first 2 Mariners who come to the plate here in the 8th inning hit Traxel hard, and it looks like his evening will come to an end.
Yeah, Jim Fregosi didn't mess around. After he saw this one, he was on his way out of the dugout almost before that ball bounced out of the ballpark, and he waved for the right-hander 1 step out of the dugout. And there, as you see, the ball bounces over the fence.
Aside from the 5th and the 8th, Traxel pitched pretty well. He exits down 4-0 as Paul Quantrill comes in from the bullpen for the Blue Jays. Steve Traxel pitches into the 8th, allows a solo home run to Al Martin, and then Alex Rodriguez doubled. So Traxel is out of the game, replaced by Paul Quantrill. This week on Fox Sports Net College Football Saturday, our first quadruple header of the season. Boston College takes on Army, Syracuse visits Cincinnati, Wyoming and Texas A&M, Ohio State meets Arizona. The action gets started at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with the College Football Saturday pregame show presented by Rivals.com. Check local listings. Paul Quantrill, the 31-year-old right-hander, facing Edgar Martinez. Martinez 0 for 3 tonight. Nobody out. Rodriguez, the runner on second. Quantrill making his 300th appearance as a Toronto Blue Jay.
And he would have had quite a few more if he hadn't broken his leg a year ago in a accident in the wintertime in a snowmobile. He had come off a heck of a year in '98. Could not pitch until June of last year.
Ground ball to the second baseman, Morandini, throws out Martinez. A-Rod moves to third.
Now that, what you just saw Edgar Martinez do, hit this ball to the right side, he was trying to do that. He's the kind of guy that is such a team player and such a consummate professional. He was trying to get that runner over. You Yeah, I know hitting coaches will say, yeah, I'll try to hit a base hit to right field. Well, he was trying to go to right field to get A-Rod to third. So now they're going to intentionally walk John Olerud so they can try to set up a chance for a double play. They can play back in the middle as a result of putting Olerud at first.
Mark Cameron is on deck. The percentages were with Quantrill. Lifetime against Quantrill, Olerud only 1 for 7, but instead they will put Olerud on, and Cameron, who's had a hot bat tonight, will come to the plate.
You know, the other thing is, in this situation, I know why Jim Fregosi's doing it, but also Cameron can run well. He's tough to double up unless he hits a ball right at somebody hard. But Quantrill has a hard sinker. He gets a lot of ground balls, so they're going with percentages here. But still, I know that these players get paid real well, but that what I just saw Edgar Martinez do really is the way the game should be played.
Cameron falls behind 0-1. 2 hits tonight for Cameron. He's also scored a run. Mariners now leading 4-0. Seattle has dominated the Blue Jays this year, winning 7 of 9.
I was just saying in reference, there's Edgar, in reference to what they're making, it has nothing to do with the way you play the game, obviously, but so many times people say, well, they're making such good money, they should do it that way. Not all players do approach it that way. They think more about their own personal stats. Go against his batting average, and it doesn't matter to him.
Now 3-1 on Cameron after the Blue Jays intentionally walked Olerud.
Did you see Quantrill stand there and stare at the umpire? He threw a hard sinker that he thought should have been called a strike, and he really stared hard at Matt Hollowell. I wouldn't do that too often. You'll never get anything close, or he'll come out there and discuss your demeanor with you.
Ground ball to the shortstop. Gonzalez to second for 1. The strategy pays off. Jim Fregosi walked Olerud intentionally to set up the double play, and Cameron grounded into the 6-4-3. But the Mariners extend their lead on Al Martin's 3rd home run with Seattle. Back in Toronto, 4-0 Mariners as we move to the bottom of the 8th inning. Time now for another Fox Sports Net game break. Back to Jacobs Field. When we last saw the Indians and the Devil Rays highlights, the Indians were up, but that is not the case any longer. With the score tied at 3, Jason Tyner singles to center, scoring Vinny Castilla, and the Devil Rays now lead by the score of 4-3 over the Cleveland Indians. Indians by 2.5 in the wild card race over Boston. Blue Jays 4.5 out.
Now we got a new right fielder for Seattle, Charles Gibson, going in place of Al Martin. That's what you see a lot of in September. When you can expand the rosters, you see specialty guys coming up, and Gibson is a good defensive outfielder with a lot of speed. And the major league managers with their expanded rosters can make a lot of different moves.
Shannon Stewart to Charles Gibson. One away. Speaking of managers making moves, did you see what Johnny Oates did yesterday?
No, you told me about it. I had not seen it, but he got Scott Sheldon into every position.
All 9 positions, including pitcher. Sheldon did not even come into the game until the 4th inning, and he became the 3rd player in Major League history to play all 9 positions in one game, joining Bert Campaneris and Cesar Tovar. I know you did it with Steve Lyons during an exhibition game with the White Sox.
Yes, against the Cubs. You know, that's tough to do. When you sit there and figure out how you have to move everybody around in order to get somebody in all 9 positions, it's not that easy.
And Sheldon came into the 4th inning against the White Sox.
Yeah, I used the move in inning, but Johnny got him. Well, that was a blowout earlier in that game last night. I think the White Sox scored 7 in the first inning, I believe.
1-2 on Alex Gonzalez, who's 0 for 3 tonight. 1 out, bottom of the 8th inning, 4-0 Seattle.
We've been talking so much about Carlos Delgado. How about Frank Thomas? The year he's having and driving along with Jerry Manuel. Obviously, the manager doing a great job. But Frank Thomas, the leader of that ball club, there's another strikeout on a good breaking ball from Freddie Garcia.
He has now struck out Gonzalez in his last 3 at-bats. 6 strikeouts in all for Garcia.
Wow, nice breaking ball. But Frank Thomas is just tearing it up. We were talking about where Carlos Delgado sits in the home run race and the RBI race. Well, Frank Thomas is leading the American League, at least going into the night, in both those categories, but only 2 up on Delgado.
Now tied with Troy Glaus in the home run department, 41 apiece.
Yes.
Here's Dave Martinez. Dave 0 for 3 tonight. Top of the order. Top 3 in the Blue Jays order. 0 for 11. Stewart, Gonzalez, and Martinez, the table setters. 0 for 11. Blue Jays with only 2 base hits. 5th inning singles by Fletcher and Morandini.
You're also talking about Rob Ducey having given up his apartment and his car, and he ended up back in Philadelphia after being traded to Blue Jays. Dave Martinez took an apartment in Chicago the week before he was traded to Texas, and then ended up here in Toronto. He was not happy with Texas. He wasn't playing. He wanted to get to a ball club where at least he could be part of a pennant race, and Doug Melvin of the Rangers was able to move him. He was in the other dugout, in fact, moved just across the field.
Here's McLemore at second. A 1-2-3 8 for Freddie Garcia. We move to the 9th. 4-0 Mariners. Performance tonight by Freddie Garcia. He's allowed only 2 hits through 8. With the Mariners leading the Blue Jays 4-0. New pitcher on the other side for the Blue Jays, the flamethrower, 25-year-old right-hander Billy Koch, second in the American League with 32 saves.
Well, when you say he's a flamethrower, you're not kidding. Surprisingly, he doesn't have more strikeouts. This guy can throw the ball over 100 miles an hour. They do say he's straight, but I don't care. When anytime you throw the ball that hard, it can't look straight if it's going at that speed. But he also has a good breaking ball, and he also has a slider, but he throws hard.
Bottom of the order for the Mariners, Carlos Guillen 0 for 2 tonight with a walk as we check out the scouting report on Billy Koch.
4-seam means he gets the ball across the seams. That's why his fastball is straight. They try to harness it. You can see him spinning right now. We talked about pitchers spinning off the ball, try to throw too hard, and they end up falling over toward first base. He's got a good downer curveball with a large break on it and a good hard slider. I guess it's a hard slider, 93, 94 miles an hour. Most people would give an awful lot of the treasures in order to throw the ball that hard as a fastball.
Set an American League rookie record last year with 31 saves. That record was broken earlier this week by Kazuhiro Sasaki of the Mariners, who saved his 32nd game, setting the new AL record. Major League record is 36, Todd Worrell with the St. Louis Cardinals. 2-2 on Carlos Guillen.
They said that was 97 miles an hour. It didn't even look like he threw it that hard.
Guillen got a piece of it, stays alive at 2-2. The executive producers of Fox Sports Net are Arthur Smith and Bill Borson. The coordinating producer for Baseball Thursday is Larry Myers. And the head of field operations, Andrea Jenkins. Terrific job, as always, by our crew here in Toronto, led by producer Tom Hewitt, director Jeff Mitchell. Guillen with a shot. Deep right field, off the fence.
took that rocket off the fence and threw a one-hop strike into second base and almost got Guillen at second base. This ball is hit hard. Obviously, Guillen doesn't have to supply all the power. Here's the pitch. Here's the swing. And Dave Martinez makes a nice play on this ball. Comes right off the fence. It takes 2 bounces, but he makes a real good throw. One hop into second base and makes this real close.
It's the 5th double of the game for the Mariners. Their 6th extra base hit. They have only 4 singles. 5 doubles and a home run. In fact, it's the first time now in 11 games that the Mariners have reached double digits in hits. Dan Wilson 0 for 3 tonight.
You know, I've seen it happen a lot of times, Kenny, and I don't know if it's going to happen here, obviously, but when you bring a closer in to get a little work, when it is not a save situation, even this situation, the team's down 4 runs, sometimes they can't throw the ball the same way because closers pitch with a mentality like a football linebacker mentality, and they really come at you and they're very emotional. And I've seen guys come in to get some work and they just don't throw with the same energy.
Foul back, 1-2. Our technical producer tonight, Wayne Taylor. Technical director, Jonathan Evans. Associate director, Gary Nicholas. Broadcast associate, Mitch Rubenstein. Thanks also to Andy DeLeo, Lindsey Paulette, Tom Thomas, and Curtis Seville. Thanks, guys. With the Mariners leading the Blue Jays 4-0, top of the 9th inning. Wilson goes down on strikes. Wilson now 0 for 3 tonight. Coming up following the Mariners and the Blue Jays, most of you will see the National Sports Report. A preview of the Martina Hingis Venus Williams match at the U.S. Open, the Michael Vick Heisman Watch, and Simply Rome with Jim Rome. That's coming up after the game. The National Sports Report on Fox Sports Net. Michael Vick, the Virginia Tech quarterback. And we are told they are winning big, 31-0 at halftime over East Carolina. Mark McLemore, 1 for 3, 2-run double back in the 5th inning.
You know, Lou Pinella's son played for Virginia Tech for the last couple of years. Transferred this year to University of Florida. Is not going to be playing football this year. Lou said he had a great experience playing there.
Especially last year.
Oh, yeah. National championship game.
Base hit, right center. Coming around third is Guillen. He crosses the plate with the Mariners' 5th run of the night. And the 3rd RBI of the game for Mark McLemore.
Well, we said early in the game how Mark McLemore, even though his batting average is down, he came into this game batting .238, has given Lou Piniella a lot of veteran leadership. An outstanding defensive play at second base, but he makes things happen also on the bases. He can still steal a base. He's got 27 this year, which is a career high for him.
Ricky Henderson takes a called strike. Ricky 2 for 4 tonight.
You know, Ricky's last at bat, he took a real big cut and got under a ball and popped it up to third base. But that was one of those swings where he hits the ball out of the park. Now, Billy Koch struck out Dan Wilson with a curveball after throwing several 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Now Ricky's saying, oh no, that can't be. Ricky has never seen a called strike that he agrees with, but that was just a breaking ball that Billy Koch has added into that repertoire of such hard stuff.
Well outside, 1-2. Mariners were 70 and 63 at the end of August. They've lost 4 of 6 since then. Ended their 4-game losing streak last night with their 7-3 victory over the Mariners. They were only a game and a half out of the wild card 7 days ago. They've lost 3 games since.
Well, on their behalf, they have to feel that, well, if they could lose them that quickly, maybe they could get them back that quickly. The problem is there are too many teams involved in it. When you get too many ahead of you, you can't make up ground because somebody will be winning.
The Tigers come to town this weekend for a 3-game series here at Skydome, while the Mariners head home following this 7-game road trip. They will play 3 with the Twins and 3 with the Royals.
Well, sometimes it looks like you're in a better part of your schedule, but it doesn't always work that way. But you would rather play against clubs that don't have as good a pitching staff as some others. You know, when the minute somebody comes to a major league manager and says, well, this is the easy part of your schedule, the guy runs you out of his office. I don't want to hear about that. Every game's a tough one.
2-2 on Henderson, 1 out. McLemore the runner on first. Three balls, 2 strikes.
You also spend a lot of time watching the scoreboard. You were talking earlier about the Indians going behind the Devil Rays. Guarantee if you asked Jim Fregosi down in that dugout how the Indians are doing, he would know.
Ball 4, so Henderson works a walk. He was behind 1-2. And Dave Stewart will give Willie Koch a visit.
Dave Stewart took over as the pitching coach here. Midway through the year, boy, what a career this guy has had. 2 years ago, he was a pitching coach of the Padres, the club that went to the World Series representing the National League. Dave Stewart, a terrific pitcher in his own right. 4-time 20-game winner with a ferocious approach to pitching. The Blue Jays have called on him out of the front office. He's assistant general manager to go down on the field and act as the pitching coach. It's got to be a tough thing to go back down on the field and during the middle of the season in a role like this, because Rick Langford, the pitching coach, to start the season really is very highly thought of, and I know that Dave Stewart felt very uncomfortable going down to replace him because they made comments that he had done a very good job. They just wanted to make a change.
Charles Gibson batting for the first time, came out as a defensive replacement in the bottom of the 8th inning. Gibson batting .292. He's driven in only 1 run in 43 games. Here's the third baseman, Batista. He pulled Delgado off the bag. Everybody's safe. Gibson reaches on the error. And the bases are now loaded for Alex Rodriguez.
Well, this is a high chopper, and you can see that it was one of those throws that kind of looked like it almost slipped out of his hand. But Gibson was flying down that first baseline. I think probably Batista saw that as well, because as you saw, the chopper was above his head. He had to reach up for it and then try to get the ball out of his glove and get it headed toward first base because he could see the runner flying down the line.
Batista's 14th error this season. Mariners have hit a major league high 11 grand slams. In fact, A-Rod hit one against the Blue Jays earlier this year. Inside, 1-1.
Well, he had 3 home runs in 1 game here this year, didn't he, in this ballpark?
He's hit 5 in all against Toronto. 11 grand slams for the Mariners. Edgar Martinez has 4. Now 2-1 on Rodriguez. Bases loaded, 1 out. Top 9 with the Mariners already ahead by the score of 5-0. McLemore, the runner, on third. Henderson on at second. Gibson takes his lead off first. Koch now falls behind. 3 balls, 1 strike.
Well, you got a hitter's real hitter's count right now, boy. 3-1. This is where Alex Rodriguez can really pull the trigger early. He knows that Koch throws hard, so he's going to get the head of the bat out if he can.
And 2.
You can see what he was thinking about. He knows that Billy Koch can really get it up there, so he tried to get out quickly. The pitch happened to be out over the plate, and he missed it. But he's basically back in the same situation. He's got to throw a strike here, and I don't think he'll mess around with a breaking ball. So if you're A-Rod, you got to just think he's going to throw it hard. I got to get going.
Ground ball to the shortstop, Gonzalez. The throw beats Rodriguez. Scoring from third is McLemore. And the Mariners now lead 6-0. RBI number 108 for Alex Rodriguez. So now 2 outs, runners on second and third for Edgar Martinez, who's 0 for 4 tonight. A quiet night for Edgar, but the Mariners lead by the count of 6-0. Six runs, 11 hits for the Mariners. No runs, only 2 hits for the Blue Jays. High ball 2, 2-0.
Edgar Martinez is such a patient hitter. Here's the situation that he'll just lay the head of the bat on, maybe hit the ball to right center even.
Strike called, 2-1.
So he's sitting on the pitch he wants and location he wants. He didn't like that. It was out over the plate. The kind of hitter he is. He's not a wild swinger, but he is very strong. And he'll take what they give him.
Into the gap in right center. It rolls to the wall. 2-run score. And the Mariners lead is now 8-0. RBIs number 129 and 130 for Edgar Martinez. Well, in a few moments, some of our regions will be leaving this game for live coverage of their home team's game. And we will, of course, keep you informed of the outcome from Toronto. Jim Fregosi out to the mound. And that will be all for Billy Koch, who came on here in the ninth and had his problems, pitching 2/3 of an inning. He's allowed 4 runs as the Blue Jays go to the bullpen once again. Blue Jays pitching coach with Billy Koch. Mariners now leading 8-0. We take you back to the 5th inning. Our Nissan play of the game. Mark McLemore breaks a scoreless tie. A 2-run double off the glove of Carlos Delgado. And the Mariners have extended that lead. It is now 8-0 Seattle. Mark Guthrie is the 4th Blue Jays pitcher. Guthrie has pitched for 3 teams this year. Started with the Cubs and was traded to the Devil Rays for Dave Martinez back in May. And then came over with Traxel from Tampa Bay. Brian Lesher pinch running for Edgar Martinez as John Olerud takes a called strike. Two outs, top of the 9th inning. Ground ball to the shortstop, Gonzalez. He throws out Olerud, but the Mariners double their lead. They score 4 runs on 3 hits, 8-0 as we head to the bottom of the 9th in Toronto. Back in Toronto, one more look from the Sanyo light ship as we check out the Sky Dome with the Mariners leading by an 8-0 score. And for the Mariners, here in the bottom of the 9th, new left fielder Raul Ibanez has replaced Ricky Henderson in left. And the new pitcher is 27-year-old, there's Ibanez. The new pitcher is 27-year-old right-hander Jose Paniagua.
Well, what a nice job Paniagua has done for Lou Piniella this year. This is his 60th appearance. 2-0, 4 saves, 3.50 ERA. Boy, those are nice numbers. He has a live arm, and Lou loves to bring power out of the bullpen. Fewer hits than innings pitched, and look at the strikeouts. 10 below the number of innings pitched. He's got a good fastball.
So a terrific evening for Freddie Garcia. 8 innings, he allowed only 2 hits, no runs. He walked 6, also struck out 6. And now Paniagua looking to close things out. Paniagua on Sunday against Boston, Jeff, at Fenway, closed out a 1-hitter with Paul Abbott. Mariners 1-hit the Red Sox on Sunday. The first combined 1-hitter in Mariners history. Paniagua now looking to close out a combined 2-hitter. Carlos Delgado 0 for 1. He's walked twice.
Well, the Mariners have had a game plan. They weren't going to let Delgado beat him. Even if he was coming with nobody on base, they were going to be extremely careful with him. And now they got a little cushion and they're up in the count. We'll see how they try to pitch him here. Probably with something off speed, down in the zone. See if they can make him chase like a split finger or a changeup.
Delgado held up 1-2.
Shows how much I know. They're first setting it up with a fastball upstairs. They tried to run the ball up. You can see Dan Wilson, the catcher, give the target right up underneath the arms. Now I think you'll see something down. Yeah, there's a wiggle sign. It's something down in the dirt.
Weak grounder. Guillen throws him out. 1 away. Well, the Oakland A's are idle tonight, so the Mariners will increase their lead to 2 full games in the American League West. However, only 1 in the loss column. Mariners with 3 more victories. Anaheim 6 out. How the West is won. Mariners have been in first place 71 consecutive days. Here's Brad Fulmer, who's 0 for 3 tonight.
Hasn't got a hit in ages.
Fulmer takes ball 1. It'll be a very happy plane ride back to the Pacific Northwest for the Mariners, as they will finish 4-3 on this road trip, a split of 4 games in Boston, winning 2 of 3 here in Toronto. Fulmer into shallow left center. Ibanez cutting in front of Cameron makes the catch, and the Blue Jays are down to their final out. Mariners had won 7 straight here at Sky Dome until last night. This will be their 8th victory in the last 9 games here in Toronto. They outscored the Blue Jays 71-36 during the streak. Tony Batista looking to break the shutout, and this one is gone with 2 outs at the bottom of the 9th. Batista ruins the shutout with his 38th home run. It's the first Blue Jays home run in their last 7 games, with 2 outs at the bottom of the 9th inning.
38 home runs for Batista, whom we spoke all night about how much he's been struggling. And a new team record, 222 home runs. 3 weeks to go.
Only the 5th home run allowed by Paniagua in 70 innings. Number 38 off the bat of Tony Batista, only his 2nd home run the last 13 games.
That was a fastball up in the strike zone, almost like a batting practice fastball. And Batista got it.
Team record 222nd home run. They hit 221 2 years ago in 1998. They are also closing in on the American League record for home runs at home. Record held by the 1970 Cleveland Indians, who hit 133.
Amazing. You sit and watch a major league game, you cannot relax. Paniagua was just trying to get a pitch over there, and he laid it in there, and boom, it's out of the ballpark. At the major league level, man, you can't relax any part of the games. You cannot take anything for granted.
Up the middle, A-Rod. Ball game over. Mariners win it 8-1. Freddie Garcia the victory. He is now 6-4. Steve Trachsel the loser. 7-13 overall, 1-3 with the Blue Jays. So Lou Piniella's Mariners take 2 of 3 from Toronto, as Freddie Garcia allowed only 2 hits in 8 innings here tonight. So the Mariners head home 4-3 on their road trip, 8 runs on 12 hits. Blue Jays 1 run, only 3 hits, and 1 error. This weekend on Fox Saturday Baseball, most of you will see the Yankees and Red Sox, others the Padres and Giants, plus other regional action. It all begins at 1 Eastern and Pacific. Check local listings. Next week on Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday, Blue Jays and the Yankees, or the Rockies and the Dodgers. Check local listings for the game and time in your area. Stay right here. The National Sports Report or your regional sports report is ahead in most areas. A preview of Martina Hingis and Venus Williams. Michael Vick and Virginia Tech in action tonight. And Simply Rome with Jim Rome. For Jeff Torborg and our entire crew, Kenny Albert saying so long from Skydome in Toronto, where the Mariners have beat the Blue Jays tonight by the score of 8-1.